It's another episode of Summoning Insight, this time during a live event. Because remember, first stand was actually really quick. So basically, we did like one in the middle there. But for MSI, obviously, we're going to be giving that proper coverage. Now, technically, we did only have the play-ins, obviously. But you know what? Because of the format, which I will say I'm not a huge fan of, I understand, look, when you compare it to past years and past international tournaments from Riot, it probably is the case that, like, I mean, CFO showed this. You probably do have to give the smaller country / regions like a shot at getting into the main event. The problem is, normally, if this had been like a real G2 lineup, and then BLG's already good enough, it would have just been two sets of people stomping on people for 3 days and then it'd be over. But actually, what's incredible is, thanks to G2, listen, part of it, some teams going up, they met them halfway. Thanks to G2, ended up being incredibly exciting play-ins. I didn't say really good games and really high-level games there, Yamato, but it was very exciting. I'll tell you, it was a lot of 5 gamers in this fucking play-in, for fuck's sake.
Oh, it was crazy. You know, like I think everybody expected it to be bad for G2 because I didn't see a single tier list where anybody rated G2 at all. I think everyone put them as like the potential lowest team
Some
that
people
is
even did
currently
have
in the
CFO
bracket.
over them. Yeah. Some people had CFO, most people
I had CFO over them. I got bought into the whole CFO idea, but mainly because of how how bad G2 would be at this international because like their version of League regionally has just been remarkably boring, and also whenever they play finals or the lights are bright, then the performance just falls off a cliff. So looking at G2 now, I guess that's what we have to start, Thorin. Is just the main guy that I'm looking at is Broken Blade. You know, it's like the Broken Blade haters.
Solo killed by fucking nobody's mate. The FURIA guy was clapping this dude, wasn't it? It was crazy.
Considering how like Guigo was winning against him, and then what Kiaya did to Guigo, it's like Furia lost the series based on how big of a top gap it was. So just like I'm not for like the MMA math and but here it's too blatant. It's too damn blatant. And like I know that Broken Blade deserved like his fair share of criticism, but in the end it's like I saw segments in this year where he was playing well, where he was playing the tanks. I think the lead up in winter was like really good for BB, like when they went reversal and they went for like the win streak. And then, of course, the finals looked rough. I remember like the Urgot game and so forth. I think the Mundo game he played against, of course, Midwin also looked quite ugly. But I didn't think it would be this bad. Because like Broken Blade has a segment of haters. Like there's a lot of players that don't like him, and I mean a lot of people that watch that don't like his gameplay, especially because of 2023 in particular. Because that was a year where I agree with the notion that he did get kind of carried during the majority of winter and spring in particular by how strong the roster was.
International games at times.
Yes, the international was also rough, but last year was like a pretty damn good year, and this year was like middling, like in line with, of course, G2's performance. But this is just such a fall from grace. It's like sometimes you watch someone play and you're like, it gets to the point where it's that bad that you get concerned about the person. It's like, what's going on in his life? Is he okay? You know, like what's happening here? You know, it's absurd how BB has played.
Also, the thing that's crazy to me is this. Look, not just because it went to 5 games. Like, listen, I know this might sound counterintuitive to someone who hasn't thought it through, but you can have a 5-game series where you never were going to lose. Maybe every game you win's a stomp, but then maybe game 5's a stomp. Now, look, good news is, like, game 5 against GAM was a stomp. Game 5 against Furia, there was like a moment early on, but aside from that, it was business as usual. Here's the difference, though, mate. The early games against Furia and GAM, like, bro, that GAM one at the end was that was the great escape right there. Bro, they could have lost, like, 3-0. They could actually have been 3-0 by GAM. Like, that's the one where, look, once it gets to the game 5, that's surely where, experience helps. You have got... Also, I will say this. I thought in both series, I do think once you got to an even state, real 5v5, G2 was better. Like, you even saw target selection was better. Sometimes people in Furia or GAM looked like they panicked and, like, shot the tank with all their fucking damage, etc. So overall, like, look, G2 was better. They should have gone through. But, mate, there are so many worlds where, like, if you're both Furia and GAM, I have a list this long, mate, of Skirmishes I want back. Team fights I initiated. It's like, why did I do that? Like, I was leading. I had dragons and stuff. There's some weird moments here where, like, and the thing is, Yamato, I'm not going to criticize those teams as hard because I don't expect from them what I expect from G2. I can be way harder on G2, even though they won, than I can be on FURIA and GAM, who lost the series. Like, I think that's just, you have to be proportionate, I think, with your criticism and your praise, you know?
Oh, 100%. It's like the context of how G2 played. It's like the only thing that would be like comparable is like, oh, FlyQuest versus C9 was so close. C9 could have won if they did these small things different. But the context would be, yeah, the context is a Vietnamese team and a Brazilian team against the premier organization with the Western GOAT on the lineup, and G2. The mission statement. It's like I said from day one, like losing Mickey is going to be a problem for this organization. They are hoping to do differently at an international level. Losing Mickey is going to push you so far away from that, and you're kind of wasting, let's say, Caps' good years. Like, we don't know how long Caps is going to be good. He has sequences in his career already where he underperforms and then performs again. It goes up and down. It's like these are the years where you need to pair him with all the good players. Like if everyone always asks me, it's like, how does the West ever compete against the Eastern teams? It just comes down to extreme amount of luck. Really, really good GMing and just making sure that you have like the top players concentrated on the same team, and then hope that by some miracle a team like IG loses to Team Liquid in semifinals, so you get a free finals. You need shit like that, to happen. But this whole offseason was a step in the wrong direction. Looking at Labrov at this competition, he just exactly how he looked regionally, just very uncreative.
He doesn't have a champion pool, mate. He can play like an Alistair or something. Like, he hasn't got many champions, though, has he?
It's just so flat and boring. Like, I think that there is nothing of substance really there. It's just you brought over a player that thrived when the game was about him on BDS. He was a, let's say, medium fish in a small pond on BDS, but now he's just a small fish in a large pond that is G2, and it's not really helping the main spear of the team, which in my mind still is Caps. So I give Caps a lot of grace, because definitely there's games here where he's getting solo killed. He dies sometimes. Like the Annie game, those engage angles he looked for that just didn't work out. But for me, I've said this so many times, and maybe I'm biased. This is just my own view. It's just that Caps has a way of playing when he believes less in teammates, and he just elevates risk through the roof and just makes mistakes that I think just look very, very questionable. But I think that's the fine line of him trying to look for angles, like in that game 5 against GAM, where he just dominated and won the game on his Annie. And I think it's just a fine line between carrying games and also like losing out games, because he looks at his jungle and support and says, yo, they are not super active in the game. I have a top laner that goes 0-7 on Renekton and smiles in interviews. I need to do something. What do you think about the Caps angle?
That's why you don't do this stupid thing that every fan did when he lifted a trophy, which is like, it was just him. He just 1v9s every game. He doesn't. I don't even know, by the way, ever in his career if he 1v9. Like, what team are you describing? When he first joined Fnatic, Reckless was the better player. That's why Reckless won all the MVPs. Reckless carried the world, etc. Then when he went over to the super team, and we're having a laugh, that was one of the greatest teams ever assembled. The joke is, like, every single player at one point looked like he'd be top 10 in the world at his role. And by the way, even Perks and Rollswap was pretty fucking good once he got out of the lane. So you keep going. When has there ever been the closest to 1v9 team is maybe the one we had, there's Flackhead and Targamas one. And even then, that was actually, if anything, like, Jankos was still extremely good. You can't say that, doesn't it? So, first of all, this shows that he isn't going to 1v9, especially not at this point in his career, by the way. I also think, I don't want to hear a single Caps fan tell me the stupidest line they could say, which goes, yeah, but he had some good games in these. Yeah, in the 5-game series against FURIA and GAM, he had some good games. How deep are you going to go for your copium, homie? Like, there should be just 3-0 claps. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Remember, proportionately, you're all then going to tell me, like, Knight's overrated. Mate, Knight looked like he was playing with children when he played G2. Like, what are you talking about? Like, this is nonsense. So I think, actually, yeah, it was quite underwhelming. And also, I thought it was funny what you said there, Yamato, because that's actually hilarious. I was going to come with a similar angle. I was going to say, you know what? When my boy Perks looked like shit in mid lane, but then went for every hero play, and half of them fell on his face and lost the game, everyone went, what a moron, why is he inting? And then, on the other side, when my boy Upset doesn't trust his teammates and just kites out and tries to just do damage, he's a moron who's too pussy to go in. This is why, guys, you have two extreme reactions, unfortunately, to when you think your team's losing and you have to do something. You either play super cynically and don't look bad while losing and basically give yourself limited chances, or you go super aggro like you're describing. By the way, both can look really bad in their own ways. It's really easy to look at the guy who doesn't go in and go, what the fuck's he doing? The guy that goes in, you go in and you die. You look like if you go in on an anti-engage and it doesn't get the other fight, you look like a moron. You look like you just entered the fucking game away, and you will instantly be like 100-0 by all their fucking DPM. Like, it's just over. So I thought actually Caps, even though he was actually one of the better G2 players, still very underwhelming. That's how G2 ended up in this mess, mate. Like, it's not like they were just hard winning mid every fucking game.
I think like that GAM series, the fact that GAM rolled out emo in the first two games, like I don't know what the internal workings is there, but I'm just screaming at the screen. It's like, I watched the emo games here and he just is not performing at all. And
you think if they played the other guy, they would win?
That's like the fact that we're speculating about something like that is even crazy to it's
a real conversation, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Because it's like the emo guy, like he folded like a launcher against Caps. It was like 40 CS lead, 50 CS leads. Caps on Rise was just running the whole map in game one. I think game two as well. Game two was the Rise game, and then game one was the Syndra game, where in the end it's like he just reached like critical mass. I got his full stack passive so early because the Talia was just getting kind of farmed and the CS advantage. But then it's like the series kind of opened up when Ares came in with that Ahri performance because they actually had a mid laner again. It was kind of crazy that we had a race between emo and Broken Blade about who is going to be like the worst player of the series, because practically that series was a 4v4 to some degree, and then it started swinging in the other direction when Ares came through with the Ahri game, and then I think in the fourth game as well, that was like the Silas game, if I remember correctly. So there's so many things that were like small differences if you change. In the end, I do think like the conversation about Caps, I do think it's interesting because I worked with Hilly and Mickey, and obviously I'm very intrigued. It's like, oh, how was working with Caps? What was it that he did mid lane that like worked so well? And he said he just demanded attention. And if you didn't give it to him, he would kind of like int and he would like just do shit on his own. So you naturally were inclined to just go towards him. Like the 2018 roster eventually, especially in that period where Bwipo was playing AD, you just right click towards Caps' lane. When they went to the World Championship, it was like the opposite. I remember the finals in particular, like a big problem there was Rookie and Ning were just the best mid jungle ever, and they just dominated him. And I was like a fly on the wall in one of the conversations that happened later where they were like arguing over the finals, and they were just saying it's like Caps just kind of gave up on the idea of playing mid jungle 2v2. And he just committed to playing like carries that would farm on their own, in the sense of like he picked like Victor, and I believe played one Azir game after playing like Irelia and just got isolated. That if he doesn't believe he's gonna get help, he changes. But it's like Caps is the GOAT, but he is still a player that has weaknesses and strengths, and he's the type of guy that just needs and thrives when he has that attention, and this team doesn't give it to him. So he's going to look worse. But Caps, I give him a lot of grace because honestly, I do think he deserves it. It's like you mentioned like periods where he 1v9'd. I do think there were periods where he was like 1v9, like 2020. I think that version of Caps was absolutely insane. Last year in spring, I do think his teammates were like really, really underperforming. But it's always the context of the meta. It's like here, everyone's banning Azir because they know that on Azir, he's going to farm, he's going to get away with everything on side, and he's going to eventually carry the game. Tristana is just a weak champ, and he's trying to shoehorn it in. It's just there's a very, very few champions that can get away with farming side, winning 1v1, and also scale at the same time, and he just can't pick them because either they're banned or like the Tristana game are just way too weak.
What about, this is an example where if we're going to put the blame on Broken Blade, deserves it. Labrov it's the same as the fucking LEC, but he doesn't do anything. He's not that good, and he doesn't do anything. He gets 0 points for that. So one of the things, I'll make a very quick prediction. I do think somehow, I don't think anything of these I've already had fans asking me on my stream, like, who should they replace for summer? It's like, listen, that's some amateur hour shit you do when you're like the 6th best team, guys. Look, we'll get to that Fnatic Poby thing maybe later if we want to address it a little bit, but like, that's some clown shoe shit when you're even doing that. Like, nobody's changing in G2. You don't change after this roster. If you even get any half decent BO5s off, you even just basically take infinite hopium that you can get it together for Worlds and still win LEC. Like, you just run it back again, because it would also be bullshit to bring Labrov in and then just go 2 splits, you're out. It's like, fucking hell, mate. What is this? So I think you're going to play the same roster summer anyway, but I'll make a prediction. I do think at the end of this year, Labrov's done. Like,
yeah,
this is going to be 3 whole tournaments. I'll have seen very little from him. And the problem is there's way too many good players at the support position. There's so many people you could upgrade with that are even worth the gambles. You might even, by the way, if you just don't want to spend money, maybe you do gamble on a guy from an ERL or something like that. Labrov was sort of a proven quality in that sense. He doesn't look like he's got adaptability to his game. Remember, this isn't a 19-year-old rookie in his first team where, give him a break. This guy's played fucking forever. He's played a lot longer than some, like, the joke is KC players are already better than him in his best year. And he's played like a whole career in the LEC. So I think Labrov is going to be done. So the interesting thing to me is, I do think, though, if you are a BDS, a Vitality, you should be looking for this guy, though. You could use him. You could actually put him in a squad where it makes sense for you in the overall. But if we go beyond that, the main problem I have is this. If there was only the FURIA and the GAM series, I could do this kind of Copium Yamato. I could go, well, you know what? Some teams, you play to the level of your opponent, you get dragged down into the mud, you have to scrap, it gets dirty. BLG, if you're going to play to their level, could be awesome. And I'll tell you what, you had one good game. You did have that game you almost won. Even in that one, Caps wasn't that good, by the way. You had one good game, though. You didn't win it. And after that, wave goodbye. Like, that's not good enough. It's not good enough. Because remember, you played a lot of fucking games in this play-in, mate. Like, it's not like, we're just over-scrutinizing the first 2 games in the BO3. Like, fucking hell, this was a lot of games you played. Like, at this point in time, I do believe a couple of days off can give you like a break, reset mentally, etc. But just what I like see, the clicking on my screen, the decision making, the proactivity, it has to get so much better for this bracket. Not least because then God looked down and said, all right, you want to fuck around as like a top seed from a good, there you go, you get GenG, motherfucker, enjoy. A team that nobody knows how to beat. Nobody. Like, this could be a fast fucking tournament, mate.
100%. It's like the only saving grace is, as you said, it's like they are warm. It's like we have a lot of teams here that didn't play for a very long time on stage, and maybe they have a slow start. I think going through play-ins is definitely, like, if you're Bilibili and G2 on paper, it should be like a big advantage for you. I think in terms of like revealing strategies, to some degree that is true, but at the same time, you also reveal a lot of strategies to yourself. Like the theory and how things work in scrim sometimes don't translate, and then you're scrambling on stage and figuring things out real time, and that's a part of the challenge of international competition. But I don't think it's so far from enough for G2. On the other side, right, of G2, I do think Scumond, I think he's having a decent tournament. I like as a rookie,
bad in my opinion. Yeah, I've never really gone in on him that much,
I think like it's just, I give him grace. This is still, he has good games. He has good moments. Definitely like that Nuno and Nafiri game where he just like ran straight into the enemy was extremely questionable.
Here's the thing though, Yamato, I'm not a massive defender of Intin, but to be fair, if you actually would see his POV, I'm going to go ahead and guess you have fuck all wards. I think actually someone had already recalled. You're just gambling on like, I'll try some ridiculous attempt at a pick on that, like that game was done so at that point anyway. It's not like that was like he threw the whole game, was it? Like, there was more to lose the game off than that.
No, definitely.
Look, it also looked bad because he was going for the kill. He wasn't just even trying to fuck around. Like, he went in after that. So that's why it looked bad, Yamato. You know what I mean?
It looks very funky, but these are like small things that you can definitely adjust. I think Scumond as a player is definitely flawed, but you can see the strengths, and I think that's a good thing. Will it matter? No, but I think it's still important to highlight. I think Hansama, I do think when he plays champions that are strong in lane, I do think he has had a pretty decent tournament too. Like if we are going to like rank the performances, I do think like Hansama, Scumond, and like Caps are the ones that are actually contributing to winning game states most of the time. But also Hansama, for example, that Sivir Nico game was so atrocious. Like if he is not in a driving position, he's playing a losing matchup, he has no grace at all. He breaks all his bones.
I don't ever want to see that bot lane draft again, please. No more. Mercy.
The Siva Nico game was a very ugly game, and really frames my categorization of Hans Sama as a player. I think Hans Sama is just like European Gumayushi. Pick him a winning lane, and then he's going to be like decent throughout. Give him a losing lane, or you're gonna see some crimes.
Mate. All right. Let's just go through the two teams that were eliminated, because I actually think they've earned us talking about them. So the FURIA one is brutal because obviously they lost in 2 BO5s. And if you watch the way they lost, both of these series were winnable. Like, look, and I don't do winnable where it's like, you know, you haven't been totally destroyed. I mean, you were in actual winning positions against G2. Against GAM, by the way, again, it looked like you were even going to take them out, like in probably 4 games. Like, I think if you're FURIA, it's such a rough tournament because Brazil historically has only ever done something like 1-2 BO1 upsets ever, like a Worlds type scenario. Aside from that, they've been fairly irrelevant. Like, this actually... There's obvious flaws there, but mate, there's reasons you were ahead as well. There's reasons you're getting kills. There's reason, like some of these players, this is one of the biggest compliments I can give them. Some of them did, prior to the game 5s, do what you'd want the teams to do. If someone was a Yamato cannon type coach, you'd want to tell them, even though this is impossible, turn off the nameplates in your brain. Just play as though you actually do think you have the conviction of the player that you're going for. That your champion is the same champion as his. It can do the same damage and the same ultimate. And if you have the edge, you pressure that leverage. They actually played with like quite a lot of confidence in some of these early games, I thought, mate. Like there's a reason they were ahead.
I definitely. There's that aura of teams that carry themselves with a certain confidence, where being the underdog seems to be something that really like riles them up in a very, very good way. I think it's like in terms of the rivalries and how competitive the LTA South is in terms of, let's say, they make it very personal already there. So it's like to win in the LTA South already puts you through the test of how confident you are in your own ability. And I do think taking the opportunity to beat someone that is capable of underperforming requires a very good state of mind. Like we've seen so many times in Europe, BDS and Fnatic are like the ultimate opposite of this version, where they can't defeat a underperforming G2 even if God came down and just like pushed them, please do it for me, you know, and it just never happened. Mad Lions also, like the KOI roster, also carry that very similar energy. Highlighting the players, I do think the bot lane, whenever they played like very unique champions, like the Ashe Seraphine, they were doing things that I haven't seen before with the W start and the Kalista lanes. That was really insane. The Ashe Seraphine was really good. The Nyla lane that they did, they played the Yasuo game too. Whenever they were kind of staying in their own pocket, being like the southpaw of the bot lane in comparison to playing the standard stuff, they did a lot better, which I thought was interesting. The jungler, Tattoo, I think he was very dynamic and very chaotic, which I think was a very good gut punch against someone like Skumond, because there was like that Nocturne game where he like level 3 ganked and then level 4 ganked top, and then he invaded. He was very busy in that game, and I really like to see that level of jungler, because in the end, at this tournament, like when we are looking at the likes of Canyon, Tarzan, Inspired even, it's like the way they see every opportunity. It's like, oh, they warded here, I have a pocket through here to punish here, this is the matchup, and they kind of deviate from what is standard, while Skumond is very standard. And finally, of course, Guigo, like he did the Warwick game. That's like the first domino of BB's performance here at MSI.
He even took his Warwick from him. Exactly.
This Warwick game, the opening game was crazy, and Guigo just annihilated him with the Aatrox. And I feel bad for FURIA, because in that series against GAM, as a follow-up, Guigo just heavily underperformed. He just got massacred by Kiaya. It was not. It just put them in such game states that were so unnatural just because of how fed the enemy top laner was. Like even that game 5, like a Gangplank solo killing a Gnar. That's just not okay. It's not okay at all.
just have to assume the emo guy is a scrim demon, mate. I don't understand otherwise why he's in the game. The player I actually thought did hold up the best for GAM is probably Artemis, the ADC. Bro, he actually had he cooked at times, mate. This guy thought he was going to win these games.
He was very consistent. I did think that he raised the floor of this team big time. Levi had such up and down performances. Whenever he played like the standard shit, like the Vi and the Xin Zhao, it did look like he embodied the worst characteristics of a Razork. You know, he was just.
Oh, he went in all the fucking time, didn't he? I know. But we have this saying in Counter-Strike, mate. Players who are like the super entry, we call them plus W religion, because you know W is just the forwards button. It's the idea all they do is just press the forwards button. That's how this motherfucker plays engage. It's crazy. He doesn't just engage, mate. He goes like he's like the guy who fucking dives over to the backline. It's crazy. He goes so deep, mate. So deep.
It just seems like such a protest. It's like, oh, we're picking this because we need engage. And it's like, and then some junglers just view it so black and white. It's like, I am engaging. Why is it not working? And it was silly. But then on the other side, he had like the Nafiri games that look good when he played the carry champions. His Nocturne, his perma-ban didn't get to play it at all. Like when he played those champions, it looked really, really nice.
Oh, he beat Skuma with Lilia. Okay, yeah. You got my attention now, Levi. You played in the LPL. I remember you, homie.
I was just Levi as well. The fact that they ended the series in that like the G2 game, that they picked Vi in that one, that was so disappointing.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
I thought they were just pulling out the Shyvana, because I pulled up Levi's record and he has 60 games of Wukong in his career, 80% win ratio.
Okay.
Shyvana, the same thing, just an 80% win ratio. This is what he played last year too.
Exactly.
And I thought he would just roll out the Shyvana there just because, you know, that's the moment to do so. And then he just picked Vi and he leaned into what I would say would be his weakness, and GAM just were out of their depth in the prep department in the final game.
I'll give props though. Look at what the coaches on GAM banned for game 5. So we'll take out Azir, Maokai, Draven, Blitzcrank, and Ezreal. Bro, you made G2 actually have to work for this one, mate. Like, that's all the shit they'd go to for comfort. Those are all the picks you'd want at the end when they haven't been played in the draft yet.
Yep. No, for sure. It was cool to see. Like Archie and ThinkOut, I think we always, especially this year, we praise the coaches when they do the prep work. Yes. And I think this series was definitely like a big part of that. And G2 found like really good footing in game 5s, but I think that's where like the player quality just comes through, because it's like the G2 going for the Annie last, or like the Yon performance that Caps that's just like experience coming through and being capable of going so deep. That's like the main thing. And in the end, to get to game 5 was already super impressive, and they didn't do it in a way where G2 gave anything away. Like G2 played and just got outplayed. So really a lot of props to FURIA and GAM. They made it super interesting.
Sure. By the way, I will even say, tiny assist to Vestion, our last guest on that preview. Because remember, he didn't just say CFO like everyone else did. Spoiler, we can all say CFO. They actually won more games against KC. They were beating up people in all those matches. They could have been in the MSI fight, you know, and we've seen some of those players before. The difference is to actually have the balls to pick GAM to actually have a chance to get out. Like, I thought that was jokes. I thought that was the usual, like, you have to believe the team from your region can do it on their best day. It's like, no, actually, it's not like this was the absolute worst day for G2 always. Like, they just went head to head with them and actually had a real good chance. Right, let's talk a bit about BLG though. Look, they were better. Here's the thing, Yamato. They had the best of both worlds, mate. They got to warm up. They got to see, you know, test their meta and test out their draft. By the way, this is something you should love if you're a fucking LPL team with their history. And then not only that, they got to clap people and not even show that much. Fucking perfect. You know what? Couldn't ask for a better little run if with these guys. True, I do think they should obviously have lost that first game. Like, it was one of those ones where, if you notice, I've seen every region do this now, Yamato. It feels like it happens a lot more in the modern day, that people, you think they've got the Nexus, and people do this weird thing where it's like, I'll give you a comparison. This is quite a good analogy. You know Counter-Strike a little bit. You know in Counter-Strike, when there's not enough time left to do a defuse, if you pause and fight the guy if he comes and checks you, and you just have to hold it and pray. You have to literally just pray either you're in smoke and he doesn't guess where you are, or even he just sees you and he just misses, or he just waits 1 extra second thinking you'll come off the defuse and then he goes to try and kill you and you get it just by that much. That's almost what you have to do on some of these Nexus when they're open. You have to just basically just go, all I have to do is literally just hit, and then maybe like every, 2 auto attacks, think about repositioning a little bit, but aside from that, just keep doing it. Because the amount of times people are hitting these Nexus and then someone comes out and fights them and it survives on that much, it should happen 1 in a million times, mate. It happens like every week, it feels like, if you're watching all the leagues in League of Legends. And the amount of times people don't get that Nexus is bonkers now. And I thought that was a great example of one, because he probably should have won that first game. Look, it was a steal. Yeah. Again, the game, by the way, here's another thing. I feel like we're 2 years back. You win that one good team fight at like 29 minutes and you just win the whole game. We're back in that fucking weird meta again. So there was a chance to win that game. The problem is, after that, forget about the series, mate. After that, like, that whole dream of, well, Knight is amazing, but we've got caps. We don't at the moment. Knight was fucking toying with him, mate. He was like, all right, here's a bit of Talia. Oh, you're not like that, do you? You're not, well, you know what, fuck it, I'll go easier on you. How about Veigar? Oh, that shit's all over you as well. Well, you know what? What do you want me to do at this point in time? Play with one arm behind my back? I'll choose the left, obviously. That was ridiculous, mate. Like, we had all the copium in the world. You couldn't find a way they're going to win this series. Come on.
There's such a contrast. It's like when you pull the decision to go all in, you need to go all in, but so many teams don't. Like the contrast between like the FlyQuest call, it's like they commit their itemization too.
Yeah,
like
true.
If BB maybe buys a hull breaker to strengthen the cannon, like sells his item, gets a hull breaker, buys AD, then maybe maybe they can end. There's some details, but staring into the eye of that decision is scary. But at that point, like if you are too scared to pull the trigger completely, then maybe you just should just go do Nash and play the game that suits you. We've seen this too many times. I think they could have played the ending a lot better too, but in the end, like that game wouldn't have changed anything besides the conversation in the community that would just drive us insane. It's like they took a game of Billy. But
well, here's the problem, Yamato. Because I've seen BLG literally lose a third game, usually game 2 in the series, to anyone in the LPL. I was like, you know what, fuck it. And I actually did a bet. Here, listen to my 2 bets. I had 3-1 BLG and G2 wins at least 1 game. So you can imagine how I felt about that Nexus. Not a fan. Not a fan. That's why I'm already imagining shopping out Lavrov, BB, you know what, homie? TSM doesn't exist, but if they ever get a team, you can fuck off to there again. I'm farming everyone out. We're shipping a lot. We're only keeping Caps, Hansama, and Skewmon, and we're starting over. We're cleaning the deck. The joke is, like, there was a better on-camera performance by the fucking guy who paints himself. I even know his name. He's Remain, but I'm just fucking with him. Whatever. The guy, that's the other thing. The amount of fucking aura farming and now is so out of control in this game, mate. Like, the egos of like, look at me, look at me. I'm from Vietnam, look at me. Well, look at me, I'm French. Like, fuck, we get into the game. I don't even care about watching the fucking general manager talk. I don't give a fuck. It's not the coach. I don't give a fuck. Get the coach or a player. I don't want to see these guys fucking dick waving competition. It's fucking ridiculous. Anyway, whatever. So here's the question I have for you. And this is a sad question. Bro, everyone was supposed to believe this is your chance to get bin. But I always keep reminding people, I know he's been reading Reddit threads, because it isn't like he lost to everyone in the LPL. He mainly lost to the really good players. He still had games where he would clap the fucking shitter teams and he would get the ones, the Thunder Talks of the world. He would still smack them around. And even by the way, even the best teams, if you give him a Camille or a Jax, there's still a chance he can. Look, he hasn't even been tested for me. Like, I haven't even had to see him do any of that shit yet. I can't say he's back because Broken Blade's having one of the worst tournaments in ages. So what do you think about the level of BLG overall? How are you feeling? Has it changed how you feel with him going into the main event?
No, not necessarily. Like I'm probably one of the few people in terms of how like the other like analysts talk about Billy. Like I am not too I'm not too worried about Bin as a player. Like I think there's certain champions he underperforms on. Like the Ambessa stands out. Even in this, like I know when he plays Ambessa and Rumble, these are going to be like harder games because you're going to get less from your top laner. In that Ambessa game he played against Gum, he did in fact get solo killed by Kiaya on the Rumble. And this is just not his specialty. Bin learns champions rather slow. I've seen so many regular splits that Bin has committed. I gotta remember there was a segment where he didn't play tanks and then he just played Kesante. the entire regular split. And in the beginning, it was slow, but then he was 30 games in, and then he was just suddenly like one of the best Kissantas. He was just demolishing. And in that Rumble game as well, that was a close game against G2. Outside of those champions, I do think that he is still a damn demon. I think if he finds himself in the right matchups and the series goes deep enough, I think he can be insanely dangerous. He's going to still pull bans. In terms of how I framed Bilibili coming into this, I still think super talented team. Beishuan just... Beishuan is like the opposite of Skumond, where he sacrifices all efficiencies just to be there when his teammates call him. And he's going to just naturally fall behind because he doesn't put himself or put his own camps or his own condition as a priority at all. And I think against better junglers, that's going to be a very big problem when Knight and the other homies aren't going to just annihilate and like dominate completely, and it's more even in the matchups. I think that's going to be a big problem. Bilibili is still, to me, the weakest Eastern team, but I do think still that Bilibili would beat any of the other teams in this context. It's like I am not so hyped about Fly as some other guys are. I still think Bilibili is a very tough team to beat. They will drop games, but you need to win 3, and that's a whole different question. I think that's also like the main conversation about T1 too. It's like, oh, you can maybe win 1 or maybe 2, but winning 3 is insanely difficult.
Now here's the thing. Bin does stink on Rumble, but can you think of anything, or maybe some sort of a product that could help him, Yamato?
I can think of just the one in particular. We talk about Mando whole body deodorant. You know, especially now, I don't know what's going on where you are at, Thorin, but I am in Germany right now. We have 36 degrees.
Similar here. Yeah.
It's like I have days where I don't use Mando because I'm staying at home, and I just stink it up completely because it's like we don't have AC here in Europe in most places.
Isn't it,
So we are melting. We are melting. Right. But at least I am melting and I still smell good, which I think is super important. You know, it's like going to the gym when you're not smelling good. You know, going to the shop is just something about your self-conscious that really gets to you. You need to be able to smell good. You need to know, you know, we are very social creatures as humans. It's no longer like a social distancing type thing. You don't want to be the guy who stands in line and people are like, what the hell? What is that thing that smells? No worries. What the hell is that? Is that Mount Fuji? Is that bourbon leather? He must be using Mando whole body deodorant. I think the craziest thing is like growing up, I remember preparing for parties, thinking to myself, it's like, I need to prepare for any moment in time. And it's like, I'm looking at my deo stick. It's like, is this safe to put in every area possible? I don't think those regular deo sticks are. But Mando whole body deodorant, you can put it on your balls, your grundle, your feet. I hope we don't get another one of those moments.
Listen,
pulls out his feet. That was a one-time thing, I think.
Tease. It was a tease, yeah.
Mando comes, you know, it's you know, a doctor created this product knowing that like just body odor was misdiagnosed. It was misdiagnosed completely. He realized, we need to attack it at the source. This protects you for 72 hours. You're ready for any hangover situation. You're ready for any situation. You use it 72 hours, ready to go. This product, I recommend it wholeheartedly. With that being said, we offer something very specific for everybody that watches. Mando Starter Pack, which is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like the mini body wash or deodorant wipes. I use the deodorant wipes. I always pick them out because just keeping them in the bag, I have like a little, you know, one of those, well, I don't know what you call it, like a drug dealer bag. I just keep it in there. You never know, you know, you never know what you're going to, you know, what situation you're going to end up in. You can just get it with you. And this, you know, Mando Starter Pack comes with a $5 off, which is absolutely insane, with, of course, the free shipping. As a special offer for the listeners, new customer gets 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code. Use code, of course, summoning at shopmando.com for 20% off site-wide plus free shipping. That's shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Smell good, feel good, be confident, be comfortable. Just smell great doing whatever you do in life. Use Mando products. Go for it.
I just like to imagine Yamato getting pulled aside by German police, and then they're like searching his little bag. Like, come on, what's in here? Where have you hidden it? They're pulling out. What is this? Is this a fake container? Mount Fuji. And then you're looking around elsewhere. What's going on here? What are these wipes for? Is this where you wipe down all the cocaine? Like, oh, wait a minute. That smells great too. All of a sudden, next thing you know, the police are on the fucking Mando hype train. Polizei over in Germany, loving that shit. It's crazy, isn't it? Right.
Oh, it's a blessing. It's a blessing. Where do we go next, Thorin? Where do we go while we
the
smell
obvious
it?
places. I think now we preview the bracket, right? Let's talk about the bracket. By the way, because obviously the episode can't be like 700 fucking hours long, we will later on, because there's not that much to talk about. We've already talked about all the matches we've had so far, basically. We'll also talk about like Fnatic Poby and some things like that, some of the silly news that's around the world. Shout out to Fnatic. Even managing to int when they're not even fucking playing. That's impressive. And then there's even that implication, and I don't even know what's real anymore. I don't even know if that's a joke that Dardo was involved in that move. Like, I can't tell. Like, it's too fucking... Reality's collapsed completely. The conspiracy theorists are right every time now. So we'll put that on the shelf for now, though. Put that on the shelf for now, like Humanoid. And let's talk about... Your boy Humanoid. Let's talk about the bracket. Because, bro... If you want to see some opening round matchups, we've already got one that is spicy as fuck. Bro, what did every fucking person hyping MKOI out of the LEC on our preview show say was the team they wanted them to play? It was BLG, because the logic goes, you know what? Elyoya might actually be better than Beishwan. That's not even some crazy like copium or like because he's playing the worst. It's plausibly true. He might be better. And actually... Like, Beishwan's strength, as I always say, is to just not be way. He's not actually some, like, superstar player. He's just all right. Like, he really is what he looks like. He's like a mid-table LPL jungler that they signed because, one, he kept getting in their ass, and then two, who the fuck else is available in the middle of Spring Split as you're also attempting to fire your coach secretly, but not secretly, and then you really do it for real? Like, fucking hell, mate. So, like, if you wanted to have a fun matchup, let's go, because I'll tell you what, if you want to see, hey, Bin, let's see how deep that champion pool goes. Welcome to Merwin. This motherfucker, he's playing fucking random in StarCraft. He just goes, whatever, let the gods pick when I play. Like, this guy's a nutter. And then obviously the Elyoya angle. Bro, if you imagine they can ever get an early game off against BLG, Elyoya can cook. Like, I'm quite hyped for this matchup. I think there's upset potential in this one, mate.
I think, like, judging by all of the matchups, I do think that this one probably carries the highest upset potential if you don't estimate like AL like choking Gigaheart. Sure. Just based on like gameplay, because I'm with you. I do think in terms of like jungle support synergy, Elyoya as a player, I do think that Koi can create conditions where they are ahead enough to actually beat Bilibili. I think that Koi, the main thing for me is the context of them like ramping up. Like, they played good League of Legends over one weekend. That's like my main concern, because they ramped up, and in terms of how their bootcamp was, in terms of how their prep is, it's so hard to estimate and read, because they're going to go pretty fresh onto the stage, and now they're putting everything to the test. I do think that Koi is going to do a lot better than G2, that's for sure. I think Giorgio Pune, in terms of his strengths, I do think that his lane phase is one of the stronger points. So I don't think he's going to fold against Knight, which also gives you a little bit of an entry into the game, which I think is super important too. I think that Koi, prep-wise as well, in that finals weekend, ever since like Melzet came back as well, prep-wise, I do think that they should be better than Bilibili too. I think it's just about making sure that you have good jungle support mid lane trios that can pressure Knight, because Knight is not getting a lot of help on this team, even though Knight is doing a whole lot of carrying. And at the same time, just making sure that you find, you invite Bin to play the champions that he's not good on in the Rumble and the Mbessa, and just don't let him play, the Camille in good angles, Gwen in good angles, or Jax in good angles. So I think like the prep work against Bilibili is an easy one, because I do think that Bilibili, in terms of where the meta is, something that really, really hit them in the gut is the Kalista nerf and the Nico nerf, because that's something that you don't need to think about too much. It's maybe something that you can play against, because in the end, I think them playing Kalista, Nico, Kalista, Renata could have potentially be like a free win against some of the best teams too. That's how like good they were at playing these type of lanes. And I think that even though I rate Elk and On super, super high, I do think the main issue is that they are limited in terms of what bot lane pairings they can play that is going to elevate them to that level that makes them really, really like supreme. And in other cases, I think it's manageable. I think Bilibili should win. I think it's natural to think so just because of the, like, I think if they walk up to a fight and the Koi is only like 2,000 gold ahead, 3K gold ahead, like 2 Drakes up, I don't think that should be enough to beat Bilibili in a team fight scenario. I also think in between the mid game, I think there is a certain pace that Bilibili is used to. And while in the LPL, there's a certain type of League of Legends being played always, like very skirmish heavy, fight heavy. Koi is playing in a region where pretty much we have teams that function in a world where it's like the opposite of that. Outside of Fnatic, pretty much, and we never got to see Fnatic versus Koi. The fun thing about the top 4 of the LEC is that I think matchup-wise, these teams would be, like Fnatic would be good into Koi, Koi is good into these guys, and then KC and G2 would be good into Fnatic because they're better later. It's kind of like, in terms of matching the strengths, because Fnatic was a very strong early game team. So my main concern as well is that if Koi got a little bit too comfortable playing against these teams that play very slow in Europe, and playing against the Chinese teams could come as a shock because they are willing to challenge you in every skirmish, while Koi usually gets everything because both KC and G2 didn't challenge them there at all.
It's 2 angles for MKOI that does worry me a little bit. One, everyone now is pretending like because he had a good playoffs, everything's cool with Jojo. It's like, bro, he still had plenty of games in the regular split where people were flaming the fuck out of him in the first few weeks. Some of the big games, he wasn't always the better player. He's going against Knight. Like this guy, the problem is, if people don't know, there's a long, long history where one, famously because he came from the same cafe as Yagao has some weird like ability to play against Knight. And then the other one is he always disrespected from Korean Soul Cube Chovy. Those 2 players, when they play against Knight, I believe he actually thinks, I'm not better. I think when he plays someone like Jojo, he's going to play max disrespect, bro. I think he thinks he can destroy a motherfucker like this. So Jojo has to hold up. And then I already hyped him on the preview show. The player aside from Elyoya I looked on this team is super. I need him to either be super, super good or not chopper bad, because that means suck or something in fucking Spanish or whatever. I know that because, that's why it's called that. That's why chopper means suck. Yeah. That's why I know that also, because from Counter-Strike, remember, Brazilian Portuguese, very similar. They always tell me chopper all the time because they want me to suck their dick. So that's right, Yamato. Even though I don't choose to learn the language of Portuguese, I did do a bit of Spanish at school, to be fair. I have forcibly learned what it means to suck someone's dick just by being told it 7,000 times on Twitter. So, you know what? You can just passively learn languages. I'll be bringing out my own Duolingo style app, I guess, soon, where what you do is you create hot takes, and then the flame from all the original fans teaches you by elimination how you learn the language at that point in time. Yeah, there you go. And then what you do is, to get out of it, to pass the test, you have to write an apology tweet in their language that wins them back over, just like all the LEC casters have to every time they bloody, like, if you haven't noticed, spoiler, I know she didn't make it overt. I saw Law did like a sort of rage tweet where or maybe it was like an Instagram post where it was like, what the fuck, everyone's saying I'm biased. I'll tell you why that is immediately, Yamato. Because everyone who's not French just thinks she's just a fanboy of KC. Not even actually that true if you ever listen to what she says. And then secondly, if when MKOI wins, they want you to just permaglaze them. And so if you're not Spanish, they're going to just be like, you're hating us because we is Spanish or something. Like, it's fucking mental, mate. It's actually bonkers. It's bonkers. Don't worry, I've got some content coming against Spanish speakers soon. It'll be on my YouTube channel. Don't worry about that. We'll get that.
I get my fair share of that community too. As it started with Expeke's mother, the owner of OG, flaming me, and then
classic.
it's
Love
like
that.
me just giving a take about Expeke, and obviously
here's the thing people don't get as well, right? On the one hand, it's hilarious when someone's mother comes on the internet like and sends you flame, and you're like, but on the other hand, here's my problem. Listen, you're just Yamato, a more social person than I am. You have more tact, more grace. You have a level of politeness. I have an enforced politeness from being British and the way I was raised, right? But what people don't understand is this. If you are someone where we know who your mother is from like a profile video or a documentary, but she's not on the internet, she never flames me, I'll never speak bad about your family ever. But if your mother gets on the internet, has an account and tweets at me abuse, she might get Thorin clapped. Understand that, homie. She might get in the eye of the fucking target where you don't want to be. And then all of a sudden, tell you what, there better not be anything in that bio. There better not be any sus looking pictures up on that account. Because listen, anyone can get it. That's how I run, mate. Listen, I'm like the Punisher, mate. It's just how I do this shit. And you know what? Like the Punisher, you put me in court, I'd say I fucking love that shit. But anyway, enough about that. Because by the way,
I just wanted to add. There was
Everyone.
also like my history with like the Spanish fans, right? And then the follow up was like people were like really, really flaming Niski. You remember when he like laughed after getting clapped by T1?
Yeah.
And then I just stood up for him and I called out like some of the people in the Spanish community because they are very, let's say, like Elioya sided, and they kind of artificially made this beef between them, and like the French community versus Spanish community like went against each other. But my take was only like based on what I believe, because I think it's bullshit to judge a state of mind of a person after a loss. It's like you're judging him from outside and you want him to act the way you want to act. It's like, fuck off, you know, this doesn't make any sense. And then it was just, as a follow-up with that, was also like Ibai just came after me for no fucking reason when I was in KC, because that was also silly. Like he was talking as if Koi had accomplished shit at that point in time. You didn't fucking accomplish shit. It wasn't even comparable to KC at the time, and I called him out for it in response. And this, ever since that, no matter what, it's like if I praise a player in Koi, it doesn't matter. If I criticize him, then all the goblins just come out. It's just funny how some communities are so ingrained and so tribal and so delusional, where like even on my tier list of players, I rate Alvaro and Lua pretty high because they deserve it, right? They deserve it. But even then, there's like, what the fuck? They need to be higher. Who the fuck is on? Duro is a rookie. It's like, what the fuck are we saying? Like, relax, bro. It's always the same. It's like that bell curve of fans. It's like there's gonna be the extremes. You have to love the team as much as they do, or you're the enemy. If you like them just a little bit, oh, you're the enemy. They come and they turn into hammers that just hit on nails. And if people give these guys any form of power, they're going to just extend it. So just tell these people to fuck off and never fold. Never fold.
Also, I'm with you. I actually do think when you have been as great as Bin has, and for how long he has been great, it's a couple of years now. I thought he was up and down the first few years where actually people maybe overhyped him a little bit. I do think that how good he's been the last few years. I'll tell you a concept I also have from Counter-Strike, which is don't give him time. If you want to beat them, you better have some 3-0s, some 3-1s. You better have some really nice early games that just push on. You better actually like win that team fight and then take the base. Don't go and take a dragon again and reset and be like a tiny bit ahead in the stack. Because I'll tell you what, one thing I have learned is if you give great players enough games and enough days, the days are especially key, these motherfuckers wake up eventually, mate. And remember, he doesn't have to do it the whole tournament. He just has to do it against you. And that might be a low bracket second round game. It might be like the key game in an upper bracket. If you let that happen, especially if you're the Western teams, then you're going to be really sad because you'll be like, oh, we had him beat. It's like, yeah, but you gave him too many games, mate. You flipped that game at the Baron and lost it where you needed to win it. You know, he's not just going to have 3 bad games in a row in every best of 5 series. That's just not even that. When we say he's bad, we mean relative to he looked like the best top laner ever last year. Like he looked like he actually just took the crown, you know. So comparative to that, it's the same as the Caps. Like again, by the way, if Jojo plays the way Caps did, it'd just be all right. It wouldn't be the end of the world. But the difference is that's Caps, bro. That's the guy who's supposed to be the GOAT from the West. Who's the greatest player, the chosen one of the elite, all that time. So when we give you that status and that hype up here, we have to bring it down a bit if you do badly. Now, the other one, as you say, the most obvious one that is spicy too, is anyone's legend against FlyQuest. Because you've got the whole... How will Tarzan do? Will he choke? Now, listen, Inspired, what a fucking great player from the West to put against him. Probably our best player in the whole West. Like, why not put that guy again? Let's see if you can pressure him a little bit. Let's see if you can play from behind sometimes if he's there. Let's see how it goes. But with that said, I do think also people are doing this thing with FlyQuest that I don't get. Here's what I don't get, Yamato. Right? When they actually had that epic series against GenG, which was baller, yeah, they were in like awesome positions in some of those games. They even fought their way out. Massive played great, etc. What I don't get is this, bro. They didn't even win split 1 in NA. And then we just talked on the last like 3 episodes ago. Every time they played Cloud9 in this playoffs, it was fucking back and forth. Both teams could have won these ones. So there's also a world where it's like, there's a world where maybe they don't turn up and play awesome. Maybe they're not going to be at their 10 out of 10 level. Like everyone's just assuming they are. That's one thing I noticed, by the way. Here's the difference between EU and NA. Because we usually have 2 or 3 teams from EU who have like, you know, good players, good chance. We pick the one that has the best chance. NA just not hugs the one that wins their league. So the joke is, if fucking Team Liquid wins, suddenly they're talking like they're like fucking peak fucking KT roster bullets macroing around the map. Then if FlyQuest wins, you'd think it was like the second coming of like fucking TSM with Bjergsen and Doublelift. Like, these guys could play against anyone. It's like, well, let's see. Because you know what? You will never get an LPL first seed with this much experience in it in terms of an MSI. So if you actually are the team you claim you are, show me right now. I don't want to wait. I don't want to see, but we beat G2 in the lower bracket. I don't give a fuck about that. Show me now. Because you're telling me, like with Team Liquid last year, this team can actually do it against the top teams. This is, by the way, which team's better? Anyone's Legend now or GenG at Worlds? GenG at Worlds obviously way better. So if you took them to game 5, obviously, again, no MMA math, just after 5 games. But I need a comparable performance. I need to see games where you are the better team, win or lose. And I want to see the close games. You actually win them. Not every Western team, usually in the close game, that's the one you lose. That's the one where Faker pulls out a play, or the fucking, some ADC just goes gangbusters in the team fight, or their jungler, when you're playing scared, does some fucking sick flank or some shit. So let's see it. Let's see it, FlyQuest. All this talk, all this hype, let's see it now. First series.
The main thing is the first series. That's where you gotta get them. It's like it's very rare that a North American team comes into a best of 5 with more experience than the number 1 seed from a LPL or LCK. That's extremely rare. Usually the number 1 seed from LPL or LCK are just the usual suspects, the guys that are always there and that are always winning and always get to finals. So this is the time to do it. I think strictly from a gameplay sense, with what they've shown, AL should be better, in my opinion, in everything. It's like the whole pair here is that you catch them off guard, you hit them hard, you hit them fast, and you hit them very early, and you leverage that prep work that you were praised for in the past. The main thing for me, I think, most analysts are talking about FlyQuest through the lens of what their potential should be, and they expect it to be fulfilled. I think FlyQuest, in terms of how good they can be, I don't think that they have fulfilled that at any point this year. I think in terms of seeing a peak of a Bwipo-inspired Masu, like the whole roster, just the peak of that in terms of their best version, I haven't seen that once this year. And I feel like every analyst out there is talking as if FlyQuest is going to come into this MSI and they're going to achieve their peak, when that has not been shown yet. I think there's been times where players underperformed, where players are inconsistent, like Busio, like Bwipo, and even Quad at rarer times than the other two, but it has happened, and I don't think FlyQuest come in here as, clearly much better than Koi, in my opinion. I think Koi, CFO, especially Koi, I think Koi has found a better peak in the context of what they are as a team and what they are as players. I think they're playing to what their highest potential is, more so than FlyQuest are, even though I think FlyQuest's peak could be potentially higher. I just haven't seen that at all this year. And coming into this matchup, I think a lot of people are underestimating AL, but the only angle that I can play with is that if AL are just going to, underperform due to logistics, due to the nature of everything in regards to, of course, playing at the international stage. They're coming into this as a favorite. But I also want to highlight that the Chinese teams, they have played so much more best of 5s. We've said this many times on the show, so much more best of 5. It's like AL, I know that for some reason in the West, we don't give a fuck about winning LPL and winning LCK. For these players, it means the whole world. It means everything. In the LPL, to beat Bilibili twice and beating them in a final, that is already a shit ton of pressure. The venue was filled with people. It's like that already rising to the occasion after losing to top esports in the previous split in a finals. That's already like, you've already broken some barriers there. You've already broken, a lot of ground in terms of what could potentially hold you back. So this is a team that has already been challenged. So I have full faith in anyone's Legend to actually be able to perform here. I think this is going to be an insanely hard series for FlyQuest.
I'll give you 2 other reasons I think the FlyQuest is in trouble. One, everyone wants to hype the Nuke Duck Mythy combo. If you haven't been following Summon Insight this year, half the fucking episodes of the Tarbe glazing session. This guy's fucking cooking right now. And if you look in his career, he's only lost to like the greatest teams of all time. Like he's pretty fucking good. He's also, by the way, pretty fucking good in international tournaments too. Then also, everyone always does this thing, right? It's a nice little sleight of hand semantically. They'll talk about Masu, who, yeah, can be really dope, as if it was like a one-man lane. And then what they do with Busio is they go, and he's playing a lot better than expected. What? Sorry? That's a two-man lane. So here's the problem. The bot lane of anyone's legend also looks really good. And do you want to know where their better player in the bot lane is? Fucking support position. The support position player is the all-pro from the LPL, first team, by the way. So Busio isn't just playing any old, but he's got... Remember, last time, Lehens was fucking helping FlyQuest in some of those games. He was having some hard times. Like, if you watch this time round, I don't know, mate. I think Kale can fucking... He can get in that ass, mate. He can do damage.
Definitely. No, it's just... FlyQuest, if I would isolate their main weakness, it is the early game. The early game is not clean and crispy. They choose skirmishes with bad numbers. They choose to fight in areas that they shouldn't be fighting in, and this puts them on the back foot. And I think they get away with it often. Sometimes they don't even get away with it because they drop series against worse teams and games against worse players. But I don't think anyone's legend, like especially with how good anyone's legend is in the early game, I think out of the opener, anyone's legend is going to be in a very, very good position. I just don't know how much FlyQuest could get out of a potential bootcamp. I think a very, very big positive is the fact that C9 is a good team. Like if C9 actually didn't challenge them and actually didn't actively scrim now, I think the FlyQuest would have a lot less practice, because this is something Dylan Falco complained about, right? It's like they prepped in Europe, but there was nobody to scrim against, and it was about a little bit weak and a little bit pointless. And C9 being there and practicing against them can be a very, very big positive. But yeah, I'm very doubtful. I am not on the hype train of FlyQuest. I think it's very likely this is going to be a 3-0 for anyone's legend.
Well, good news is that gives you a chance to be heroes if you are the guys from FlyQuest and you get any games off or you make it competitive. And if you somehow win, yes, it'll be one of the best results ever. You beat number one seed in a BO5. There's not many times that's ever fucking happened. So obviously it's just IG and TL. There wouldn't be many times an American team's ever done something comparable to that. Wait, what about, let me think. Well, you know what, Yamato? Even so, if you were to face a number one seed for the LPL or the LCK, you would want things like, I tell you what, how about their best player, Arctic Tarzan? How about having be a choker internationally? Have someone who typically's let the team down? How about have their mid laner who looked like a stud be inexperienced? I like the sound of that. And I'd like the sound even more, Yamato, if I was listening to that played back on an episode of Somebody Insight with these wonderful Raycon everyday earbuds. Because that's the thing. It's not every day that you get to face a team like anyone's legend who's sort of rookie as the fucking split champions. But you can listen to Raycons every single day. They are everyday earbuds. And you must know some of the features by now, because we never shut the fuck up talking about them, do we? They've got some actual excellent shit. Like one of the things I think is actually really, really good about the Raycons is they have the quick charge function, which is fucking sick. It's 10 minutes, can get you 90 minutes worth of battery. I always tell people this. I understand what life's like. We all have chargers. We all have cables. And actually, if anything, I find I take that for granted. There'll be times my phone's on like 60%. And I'm like so tired. I'm like, I can't even be bothered to lean over and put the wire in or put it on the charger. Whatever, that'll do, 60%. And then, you know, you get caught in a fucking, you miss a train or you're out for extra hours and you think, oh, my phone's running down. Why didn't I just charge it up? One of the best things about this is you could actually wake up and have completely forgotten to charge the Raycons. As long as you got 15 minutes before you go out the house, pop them on charge. You're going to be good. You're going to be good for your commute. It's going to be great. Obviously, when you do a commute or you're in a gym, or maybe you just have a noisy house full of family members, maybe you share with roommates, maybe you're at the library studying, they have the active noise cancellation. That's straight fire too. Normally, you expect big headsets to have those. Normally, you think high-end audiophile equipment. No, really good price point material. It has that, works really, really well, by the way. Also, they are themselves price pointed at like half the price of other premium audio brands. And I think, quite frankly, one of the best things about them is, I'm like you, I wasn't actually I'm a big boomer. I was never going to go to anything that was a little earbud. I always thought, how could that ever deliver? Like surely big headphones, like having a speaker next to your ear, isn't it? As long as it's balanced out, it's going to be way better. It's booming, isn't it? How could the in-ear work that well? I tell you what, it's because there've been so many years of in-ears. They perfected the technology. They've got it. The sound quality is actually mega. It would blow your mind. Like, you wouldn't believe that it can be especially because the clever thing is the way they fit in means that it does actually, it's not like loose in your ear at all. So because it fits in nice and neatly, it is like just awesome sound into your ear. It works really, really well. And of course, we have got a saving for you listeners, which is you can get 15% off everything and their everyday earbuds at you can get 15% off their everyday earbuds. You go to, it's on the screen, buyraycon.com/LFN, easy to remember. That is 15% off their best-selling everyday earbuds. Only at buyraycon.com/LFN, buyraycon.com/LFN. Obviously, these are available in like every shop in the universe, but this is the place where you get the 15% off and help support us. Thank you to everyone who gets themselves some wonderful Raycon earbuds. Maybe you're listening right now to an episode of Summoning Insight. Okay, if we want to shift over, Yamato, even I'm not such a hater. I actually think CFO is going to beat T1. You know what? I actually think what happened at first stand was this. I think CFO just caught a bunch of people with their pants down and got some good games off. And also, none of us knew what to expect from some of those players. Remember, bro, this isn't like, oh, look, it's Maple and Carcer and Sword. Hey, I know the old gang. Like, it's not those players. Like, listen, you've got Judge here. I've always considered him a player I respect, played in the LPL. The fucking Honku guy to me, mate, was a revelation. But the problem is, I've got to see that again. Again, listen, mate, there's plenty of people with up-and-coming players. You know, they were in their prime, and then they go against Faker. Faker's game isn't even to knock you out. His game is like, you just hang in there, and then I beat you with my smarts. I beat you with you know what? I'll beat you with my jungler, mate. I'm not even going to try and like constantly go 1v1 with you and clap you or whatever. So the problem is, T1, I saw enough in the LPL to believe this will be a comfortable series. I think they're going to win this one, mate.
Like, in my mind, I rate CFO. I think just the biggest poison is still that the region allowed them to get away with too much. Like, they had series that went to 5, they shouldn't have gone to 5. And I think here they are just walking into a team that, in my opinion, is going to just really, really isolate the biggest problem that CFO have, and that is the inconsistency of their setups, the inconsistency of how they play around objectives, because I think that's why the series against GAM was very competitive, because GAM was good in the early game. They challenged them in the early game, and also they're very snappy at team fighting. They're very, very good at pulling the trigger. They're very good at isolating targets that are out of position. But in every other facet, I do think that CFO is better. I think individually they're better than GAM and so forth. But this is not a weight that you can swing around that easy here against the like of T1. It's like your nameplates don't matter here. They might allow you to play for a little bit, but I do think, for example, if I think of Dogo and Kaiwing, it's like regionally they can be super good, but it's like their biggest success internationally was first stand, and then some of these series like for Dogo against like Billy, you know, in the past or something like this, you know.
I need to just let you know that Dogo amazing run when he was on like fucking Naples team when he was a stand-in. That was in like 2021. That was ages ago. Like, you can't keep living off that, mate. You can't dine out on that. Dogo, we saw you in the LPL, homie. You weren't it. You weren't it, mate. You know, sorry, you just weren't.
100%. And I think it's just T1, they are just individually too good. I think on the objectives, they're going to be also very sharp. I don't even see the angle where T1 at the worst is going to be bad here. T1 tend to start international slow historically. They tend to figure out the meta real time. It seems like stage games shape them and harden them in a way. So maybe there's a chance there, but I do think that T1 is going to just beat CFO. I don't think there's any upset angle here, really. T1 is too experienced, and I think, you know, it would require Gumayushi to heavily underperform, Doran to heavily underperform, but even then, like, carry an owner can carry a series against CFO, I think.
There's another thing. The support gap. Are you fucking kidding me? That's going to be one of the biggest gaps in the entire bracket. That's going to be fucking insane. I won't invoke the most famous dark example of a gap that seems to come up with every episode. Let's leave that cursed internet meme off this episode, thankfully. only the deepest of law. I know it can't get referenced every time, you know what I mean? Between that and Lance Armstrong, we've got a really dark bingo card coming up. That's fuck all do with League of Legends, I know. It's all about balls and asses for some reason. I know. Listen, I know we're stuck by Mando, but yeah, fucking hell, it's getting too much, boys. We need to clean the motherfucking short, mate. You know, bring some classy analysis again. But I'll tell you one thing that is a positive about this bracket is, bro, it means that the lower bracket game should be fire. You're going to get G2 against FlyQuest. Hasn't everyone wanted a match like that for ages? And then I'll tell you what, if it ends up being MKOI CFO, CFO has the chances against MKOI. Those are some matches I could go for those games, mate. I could watch those ones. There's going to be, in my opinion, beyond like maybe like GenG stomps G2, as you say, maybe anyone's legend just claps FlyQuest and kills the hope. There shouldn't be that many bad series. I think actually this is going to be a better bracket than people realize.
Yeah, it's just the first 4 days of MSI in the upper, like with this bracket, it's just kind of like separating. You know, this is the adult table, this is the children's table. You know, we're gonna put CFO, Koi, FlyQuest, G2 over there, and then we're gonna have like the big matchups. It's like, it is disappointing in the sense that we have GenG and AL, like from a tournament perspective, having the #1 seed out of LPL and #1 seed out of Korea on the same side of the bracket is kind of painful. But I think it just comes down to, you know, how the bracket played out in first stand, is my understanding, that kind of determined the seeding. And Top Esports kind of disappointed everybody there because they had to play Home Life in the first round. But other than that, regardless of looking at the matchups that you want to see later in terms of the integrity of the seeding, we will potentially get GenG versus anyone's legend. Like, that's fucking hype as hell. T1 versus Billy is also, there's so much history between them. Sadly, there's no Zeus, but like Bin and Doran also have history, and that's also super exciting to watch.
I think both teams are powered down, so let's just have a rematch of Worlds, yeah.
Yeah, it's like the bracket is shaping up to be fantastic. The only thing that will pain me again is that we might live in a world where we don't get Koi versus FlyQuest. Very likely we don't get that matchup, and that's the matchup that I would love to see, because even though G2 Fly is super, super hype, it's just G2 is so deflated that it's finally a matchup that we waited to see, but we get to see it when G2 is at their worst in like ever. So it is cool, but at the same time, I want to see Koi versus Fly.
Also, I will say, this is why I'm so glad it's a double elim tournament. There's going to be one of T1 or BLG extremely likely in the bracket final. If this was like, they'd be in the grand final, the whole thing. Like, I also want them to earn it. So that lower bracket does work there, mate. That's where I need, you know, if they drop down, then let's see. That's where anyone's legend gets them. By the way, I'm sorry, here's the thing. Normally, you should always give some chance teams can lose. I have to see GenG lose before I believe it can happen, mate. I have to see it happen. Like, the biggest shock is one of the actual most slept on series of the regular season was that one they played against T1, that second one. Bro, T1 was in like winning positions. And then they just fucking like, all right, turn the hands up to 11. And then like fucking Trophy would for real. This is why I love that Yamato is so bad. If you ever go into Dom's chat or read his comments on his YouTube videos, there are still people who are so fucking behind the pace on League of Legends. They still say, and they're not trolling, that Chovy is just like a laning only player who's AFK and doesn't talk. Like, that narrative is actually 4 years old. It's fucking insane. So you obviously haven't watched like the last 2 years of Chovy, because by the way, he does literally shit no one can do in League of Legends. He has like some game 5 team fights and game 3 team fights where he just like actually goes like killer instinct mode, and fucking Neo in the Matrix is that shit. Like, so listen, with GenG, the joke is, it's more like, what level of perfection are we looking at as you roll through this upper bracket? Like, I'm sorry, I just don't believe anyone can beat them in this tournament. I hope to be proven wrong, because I hope someone rises up to their level and we have like a fucking juggernaut full, you know, Ali versus Frazier. But I have to say, I do think this could be like, just like last year, could just be a fucking waltz through the tournament. And at the end of it, we're just like, is this the team that wins Worlds? It'll be the same convo replayed.
The funny thing, like looking back at that GenG MSI run, It's like everyone likes to flame top esports, rightfully so, for the shit in performances, but they were the closest ones to beat GenG. They had a very good series against GenG, and then they just got 3-0. They just got completely deflated. But AL, I think if anyone's gonna do it, it has to be anyone's legend. The T1 series is intriguing, but just looking at like gameplay, because I don't want to put too much stock into T1's ramp up, because for the majority of the season, definitely T1 didn't look good. Even like the final best of threes leading up to that playoff run didn't look the greatest. They had to figure a lot of stuff out, and maybe they could have continued that ramp up, but there is still a chance that you have underperformances there. But AL versus GenG, I think that could be, very, very fun matchup, because GenG, even though I am like Canyon, Chovy, two best players in the world for me by far right now, and that's just so unfair. We had this conversation about like them being just the greatest top side of all time, which I think can definitely be arguable. It's very, very tough to beat because they just have such a wide range of play. I don't really see what these three can't play. So they can always make compositions make sense, and they can play some really, really insane high-level shit. Like they can play the tanks, they can play the carries. If you're playing Camille or Jax or Gwen, like I trust Keen, I trust Canyon, I trust Chovy on absolutely everything. So I'm with you. It's like it's going to be, until it happens, it's hard to imagine how. But if anything, it has to be the bot lane, and then maybe Coach Kim just being asleep at the job, because sometimes GenG prep work is so damn disrespectful. I'm still thinking about that how a live series started. It's like they invited Silas in a good angle. They invited Yon in a good angle.
Let's give Zeke Silas. Go for it.
it's just like, and it's like, oh yeah, they outplayed them. God bless you. Like, but still, it's shit like that is scary. It's like, oh, let's play against anyone's legend. What do they play? It doesn't matter. Just pick something. Like, are they gonna have that level of disrespect, or is that just the aura? Because it seems very player driven, and I can see the flaw and the strength of that. There's a strength in that in game 4 and 5s, where we have like your players say, oh, I can play Zoe here, it's really good. Or I can play the TF into the Yon, and we can do this TF lead Cho'Gath draft. It's like, oh, okay, all right, let's see it. But in the opening games, if you invite like anyone legends, like the strongest drafts, I think that's the opportunity. Is GenG too comfortable? But GenG should win. Like GenG should win. They are too good.
And obviously, maybe there's a world Duro has some teething problems or a bad start. I will say, I noticed none of you Westerners ever say that about your players. You don't ever take a rookie player going from the West and go, maybe he just shits the bed completely. He looks like a moron. Like, you never seem to do that. What you do is you pick your best possible scenario, imagine their worst scenario, meet, and then the joke is, as actually FlyQuest showed us, you still don't win sometimes. Sometimes you still lose the fucking series. I'll tell you the player who just, I think, is right in the bin category. Spoiler, I actually wrote a Substack piece that's free to read today just about this, which is about the idea that when you have the special players, they can just come alive out of nowhere. Just like Bin, the other player, if I had a second of my 3 wishes that I would wish to return to form, Ruler. Bro, this isn't even that strong an ADC tournament. Go look at how everyone's playing. Like, the joke is, like, of the players that are in this tournament, it's people like Hope and Super that are playing their best League of Legends relative to their careers. Gumayushi's up and down. Yeah, he looked good towards the end. You go look elsewhere. Hansama's a bit up and down. Yeah, maybe one of their better performance, but not at his peak level. Who else have we? Elk's actually been a bit off, I think, this split. CFO again, Doggo. Like, you go look up and down. Like, Ruler, this is your chance, mate. Like, I don't even need Picra, by the way, if you even could get a game or two of that, though. I want to see the guy where I always say about him, I think he is the smoothest AD carry ever. Like, no one ever made it look more beautiful, weaving in the skill, the auto attacks as they just moved on that damage range perfectly. Then when they get the peel, just go fully all the way in, carry the whole team fight. Like, oh, what a fucking... One of the best players ever to watch, for sure. There's a reason why people actually, until recently, considered him the GOAT AD carry player. That's why that whole Uzi I conversation getting resurrected is so whack. It's like, everyone had put him on the shelf years ago, mate. They all told you it was Ruler. And the difference is, Ruler used to have to hard carry on dodgy-ass teams. Like some of those early GenG teams were fucking rough, mate. I'm not on about those last 2 times he was here. I'm on about the first time when he used to play with BDD and those boys. Like, some of those ones, he was the best ADC. He just couldn't win. In this one, at the moment, he's being carried. But, mate, if he ever comes online, say goodnight. It'll be awful. So the other ADCs also, you can't just go, oh, is that just Ruler's nameplate? Well, forget about him. Like, let's see, mate. Let's see, Hansama. Let's see what you can do against him, mate.
Just if Ruler has a good tournament, then it's impossible to beat GenG. GenG seem impossible to beat with an underperforming Ruler. So if he finds form here, then it's doomed. It's just doomed for everybody else. I think I'm with you with the Ruler smoothness. I think Ruler, to me, especially 2023 and even to some degree 2022. I think when I was over in Korea in 2020, like Ruler was just spitting out highlight reels on that roster. There was this famous Ash play where it was just like kiting 4 people and just like completely just playing out of his mind. Our prep work against GenG when we played against him was like 3 ADC bans, 5 ADC bans. We won 1 game against him where he played Jhin. And the joke I made was like, thank God he has only 4 bullets, so we can win. We got 2-1, but this was like the prep work because you needed to throw Ruler off his game. I think Ruler in 2020 did what Uzi did in like early seasons where he was like ahead of his time. Ruler did that shit in a modern game. For me, absolutely. I would put Ruler ahead of Uzi in that conversation for sure.
Yeah.
And
no, by the way, for me, that convo is Ruler versus Death. That's the convo I have, mate. Listen, T1 fans are going to go, Gilby, shut the fuck up. Listen, bro, even your coaches don't agree with that. That's actually harsh, but whatever. Then again, why not be harsh to them? It's not like T1 fans ever gave me any fucking quarter, did they?
Fucking Death, you know what? Here's the thing. Playing since forever. No,
and there's another thing. They've also been playing a bazillion years. Mate, he was in the World's Finals in like fucking 2016. That was like 9 years ago. So another play. People forget it used to just be Faker. Bro, there's a lot of people have a lot of longevity now. Maybe Faker's the most. Yeah, I'll give you that. But there's a lot of other people that are like not that far. The Xiaohus of the world. They're all still fucking going. They're all still competing. They're all still contending. Here's the thing. I need Ruler to enter this tournament with a fresh mentality. I need him to look himself in the mirror and say, hello, it's a new day. And since it's summer, you know what? I don't want him to mess around taking 20 minutes to get his shit together before he starts cooking. I want him to just be a couple of minutes, heat right up on me, a bit like HelloFresh, our sponsor. Because you know what? When it's summer, the last thing you want to do is spend all day inside. And you know what? Yes, cooking is a great activity. It's a great social activity. It's more for those like chilly nights, you know, where you huddle inside and you get warm and you start cooking, start letting your mind go. So what if I told you HelloFresh has made it even easier to quickly get lovely home-cooked meals into your schedule by curating all sorts of delicious recipes that'll just be delivered right to your door? How about panko-crusted chimichurri barramundi? Now, I couldn't even tell you what that is, but I tell you what, it sounds intriguing, as well as some sort of a Warhammer expansion kit. What about sun-dried tomato, grilled cheese sandos, as in sandwiches? That's some like Australian thing where they call them sandos for some reason. I think they also maybe say that in Japan as well. That actually sounds delicious. If you don't know, I'm a notorious hater of vegetables. But I'll tell you what, sun-dried tomatoes actually can be really delicious if they're really well done. Like, that's one I can get with, you know. Then also, they've got all sorts of seasonal snacks, sides, treats. The menu's huge, by the way. If you go on their website, you can have a look at some of the things they've got there. And you know what? They've got their new ready-made meals. These are just heat and go meals, chef-crafted, flavorful dishes, ready in just 3 minutes. What's that, like level 2 in the game or something? And obviously, then you can just get out and be eating on your patio, in your backyard, in your garden, in the park, wherever. Eat your delicious food, isn't it? They use high-quality ingredients. They're not messing around here. That includes seasonal fresh produce. They actually source it from the right places. Proteins that travel from the farm to your doorstep. That sounds great already. I want it to come from the farm to my doorstep. I don't want it to take some route through all these factories and at the end come out and I'm like, did you just reshape that into a chicken leg or was that actually a chicken's leg? Like, I need like a fucking, you know, I want to rewind this process and see what happens. I want to know if that disappears on a conveyor belt, then like, I'm a bit sus. This is fresh. This is fresh. This is fresh. It's called HelloFresh, not This Is Fresh. You know, I'm going to keep saying that. And choose every week from 60 recipes, including prep and bake and ready-made meals, plus 100 plus market items you can add, breakfast, lunch, and more. I like the way they put the and more in there, like, ooh, curious. Now you've sparked my curiosity. Well, if you want to know more, go to the website and check it out, because you can make your summer enjoyable and delicious. Sign up for HelloFresh at hellofresh.com/LFN10FM. You will get 10 free meals with a free item for life. That's hellofresh.com/LFN10FM for 10 free meals and a free item in every box. hellofresh.com/10FM. One box with active subscription. Free meals are applied as a discount on the first box. New subscribers only, varies by plan. Thank you to HelloFresh. We like to keep it fresh with the sponsors on this show, and perfect time to get those meals delivered to you and then heat them up in a few minutes. Less time than it takes us to go to the viewer questions in a little bit once we finish talking about all sorts of nonsense. So, Yamato, I promised earlier we'd do this.
We have to.
There is some news to talk about, because you know what? Even if it had been something just regional, you know what? If it had just been like, hey, we're going to try a 6-man roster in Fnatic. You know, we've had our issues. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring in, you know, I'll give you like a random, we're going to bring, you know, I'll give you the ridiculous example everyone always says about Mickey X. We're going to bring Leader in, and we're going to say, you know what, Leader and Humanoid, you split time, and let's have, you know, remember the Dark Knight? Pool Q, we're having tryouts, motherfucker. Let's see who makes it through to the summer playoffs to have their chance to fill. And then what we do, by the way, also 2 of Yamato's boys there. Then what we do is, this is where it gets spicy. I actually think this might be the most out of left field mental news post I've seen drop. I would have thought this was like a satire site, some sort of rage bait, but it was on all the official socials. So I wake up. Let's just pull this out. Poby replaces Humanoid in Fnatic. Listen, I'm a dedicated member of the Humanoid hating fan club. Even I'm not going that far, homie. And that, by the way, I'm just going to say this. I saw a Reddit thread that was mega upvoted, which means I know none of you watched Poby's career and you never watched LCK Challenger. That thread that was like, he's amazing at laning. Like, you are fucking surely joking. In English, we say, are you joshing? You are having a laugh. Like, no. The answer's no. So what I don't get is, you've taken what was actually a pretty good laning mid lane, a Humanoid. You said, you know what? See ya. You're out. You brought in Poby, by the way, a player who also completely mentally collapsed when he played in T1 those years ago. It was only 2 years ago. It wasn't 10 years. It was 2 years ago. Then you're going to put him into a team with no other Koreans in, by the way, an environment where you play on Fnatic. Ask Noah what the pressure's like on Fnatic when you play there and you lose a game as a Korean. Brother, listen, Poby, you better have fucking fucking. You better be Chovy. You better. I don't know how you can make it, man. You're just Dunzo. I don't even need to see it happen. This is Dunzo. I don't know what the fuck this is. I don't know what it is. Come on, give me your thoughts, Yamato. What the hell is this move?
So there's a lot of things I need to cover here, because I went deep into, looked at his games even recently. There's like this Asia Masters Cup where they play like the LPL youth teams against the LCKCL teams. It's like, in terms of who he is as a player, I do think he is better than what he was in 2017, because 2017 he wasn't like ready at all. And this was a player that I thought for the longest time had no business even being on T1 Challenger, because in terms of where he was, in terms of how he performed in solo queue in the last couple of years, he was not showing up on any radars at all as a prospect. Like, it was absurd that he's even on T1, especially with the context of Faker's injury. This is like a position where they should have somebody that is capable to step up. Because I think in an ideal world, T1 as an organization has a mid laner that, let's say, plays the first.
Imagine if they had someone like Karis, mate. You know, one of those. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, let's have an understudy that could actually for real play instead of Faker. Yeah.
It's like if they had somebody that could just sub in for the first 4 weeks of regular season gameplay, I think that would make such a difference for Faker's level and also his overall health. Like, it would have been amazing. Like, from T1 side, I think they were waiting for an opportunity to move on, if I just look at it from a business perspective, because I don't think it made sense for them to have Poby there. In terms of who he is as a player, I think he's like middle tier. I think ever since they got in the new jungler Vincenzo, Vincenzo is more of like the carry style type of player. I think as a mid laner, he isn't necessarily good at playing the mages, and he's not, like, he's basically the opposite of Humanoid. Doesn't want to play the mages. I think he is good at playing almost like a Niski-esque like play style where he was going to perform the best playing Galio, Rise, Palia, wherever he can connect, and him being in tune with the game, that is his biggest strength. Mechanically, not impressive at all. He's not going to come into the league and do something fucking flashy. On that front, I think Humanoid is better. But if I look at his base timers, understanding when he needs to be ready for objectives, when he needs to be on waves, and not necessarily like dying and feeding, I think he's a stable presence that is in tune with the game. So he's kind of like almost like a role player. But is he going to replicate that on Fnatic? I have no fucking clue. I have no idea. The weird thing is like I heard some of the options that Fnatic had, because it's like those options was like Omon, it was like Call Me. It's like the options, as fucked up as it might sound, Poby might have been the best option. And I'm not saying it's a good option, but it's probably the best option. Okay. But the fact that you're in that reality is the biggest disappointment, because Fnatic's streak of decisions and how they've burned everyone that has left Fnatic. It's like everyone that leaves Fnatic is leaving in a way that like they fucking, you know, they have problems with the organization. Even like with the way Upset left and then came back, it was like, oh, it just happens to be in the end, like, we want to perform, I like the players, I'm going to join, and that's what it is. Similar to how Mickey returned to G2 after, of course, you know, the whole problem with the organization where they jailed him, and then eventually they sold him to Excel that year, and then Mickey came back because he wants to win and play with Caps. Kind of a similar situation like that. It's like the list of people that they've burned along the way and all the problems they've caused, because the issues they have and had with Humanoid and Razork this season, it's not new. So why did you go into another year of it and then you made the change in the middle of the year? You didn't learn anything new. Fnatic's problems were exactly the same. You were hoping that Upset and Mickey were the difference maker to some degree. I was hoping that too. Thorin was hoping that too. We were hoping, we were hopeful for this project, but you were dealing with so much more information. Now you make this decision in the middle of the season. I think that is the problem. It's like the fact that your best option now in this moment in time is Poby is crazy. I wonder, I hope it comes out, the conversation about the financial of this, because the Humanoid contract has created kind of a money hole in terms of what options they've had, where this contract is that expensive that they need to keep committing in that direction. And then Razork as a prospect is something that is very difficult to move on from, because he clearly can be super good. He has been super good on this Fnatic roster. And letting go of Razork, you just know that the next team Razork is going to play for, he's going to play insane. You just know it. And that situation they've been in for so long, to make this decision now in the middle of the year is very, very bold. But knowing Humanoid as a person, I do think, like, because everyone's talking about what happens next for Humanoid, I think he needs to take a step back and actually like rest and do things on his own terms. Because I think this is a player that maybe didn't want to play at all and just did it because that's the contract and that's what his life was. Because I think the motivation just wasn't there. And I think if he takes a step back and goes away for a split, I think anyone that has worked with him will tell you how fucking talented he is, but his mind is just not in the right place to make difficult teams work. That's just not where Humanoid is right now. And I think if he ever comes back, maybe he doesn't. But if he comes back, I hope it is for the right reasons, meaning that you play because you want to play and you want to compete and you want to win. And I think that Humanoid has left us, quite some time ago in my mind. So I hope that he finds that peace, because in the end, playing competitive league is busy work. It's just, if you don't like that, if you don't love the process of practicing and scrimming, it really, really kills your soul. And I think that's where Humanoid is at right now. Will Poby be the Hail Mary that works out? You know, there's opportunities here. We go back to the Gilotto take of G2 not making worlds. You know, there's opportunity in the league to do something crazy. And I wonder now, the big thing is, it's like, oh, the duo is finally split up, Razork and Humanoid. Razork, if you don't fucking put it together now, if you don't,
it's gonna look like it's you, yeah, of course.
Like, if you don't make it work now and you don't dominate now, like, the people are going to, you're going to run out of chances. Like this is your chance to do something. Like this is one of the last chances. Like people are going to get tired of this shit. Like this is the moment to do so. This is the moment to really showcase that you are capable of being the bigger and louder part of the mid jungle duo, because Poby is going to come in there and he's not going to drive things. You have to.
My problem with this is, even though I'm with you, there's a world in which it's outrageous if this happens. How could you, when he was so good? There's a world, maybe he just retires, mate. Maybe he just says, oh, fuck it, that's it. I'm done. I don't have the love for the game anymore. By the way, clearly did not actually enjoy the pressure of having this giant contract. Like, it wasn't something that he seemed to vibe with at all. Also, you have basically cursed yourself. Everyone knows you just actually basically ran out one of the worst contracts in the history of European League of Legends, because it was essentially the kind of money that should have been for a Caps or the next Caps, and then you didn't play up to that level. And even worse, all we needed was one championship when we could have had core people. You didn't give us one. You had so many finals, so many semi-finals, so many worlds you attended. Now you're at another MSI. What do we get for it, though? There has to be something. Think about that. Where are even the upsets? Not the fucking ADC, obviously. Where's the time you did a sick BO3 upset? Where's the time they always lose the third game? They always are winning a game in the fucking BO5, and they never come close to winning the BO5. Like, it never happened. Like, you don't have any of the things that the G2s of the world did, and they had a lot of players with a way smaller contract. This is also why you can always tell someone is a teenager, aka then the number of their age starts with a 1 in front of it. Is if they go, if I was paid that much money, shut the fuck up. That's not how anything works in life. You don't know anything about greatness if you think that the whole time, that every time you're tired, every time you're frustrated, every time you think, I'm not really enjoying this, you think in your brain, but all that money, and then it makes you play awesome and love the game. It doesn't work. Life doesn't work that way. That's why actually it should be, look, I don't think the way that Humanoid's contract was done in the first place was wrong. He actually had an amazing year where he looked like he was super locked in. The problem is, this is why people will know this from sports. It's a nightmare where you have like the prospect that you give the big contract to, because they haven't proven it yet. It's the other way around. You get paid for what you did in the past in sports. When you have a sick year, then you get the $100 million contract. That's how it works. So the big problem here for me is, I always say this, what do people think you do? When you're at your lowest and you play like shit, do you just open your bank app and go, yeah, let's play? That's how it works. You might go, yeah, I've got loads of money. But if anything, by the way, that can be a distraction even. You know what? Now I've got all that money. That wouldn't be the end of the world if I play like shit this split. Oh, you know what? I get paid anyway. Well, fuck it. Oh, second place wasn't bad. I didn't have the same team as GT. You can make a million excuses. Also, by the way, you could just be doing things like to distract yourself. You can have you can go to the Maldives anytime you like with your girlfriend. You can fucking buy the most expensive fucking baller watch and all the rest of this shit. You can, by the way, I bet back in Czech Republic, you can live the fucking life, mate. You'll be the equivalent of like a millionaire in fucking UK or something like that. You'd be balling out. You could be driving sports cars. You could have a villa in fucking Malta. You can have everything you want. So the question at that point in time is, now that you've got every excuse taken away, do you want it enough? Do you want to win in the game League of Legends? Here's the real question. Forget caps. Do you want to outgrind Vladdy, who's still on that first year love? That initial obsession, that infatuation with the game, where you're awesome. Guess what? You used to be him once upon a time. That's the problem. So again, by the way, another player in Humanoid. Guys, this guy came in 2019. He's had like a 6-year career. This is not someone who's a spring chicken. And also, I wouldn't say he's had issues in every team he's in, but he's someone that, I've told this story before. Put it this way, at the end of this year, I'll almost certainly do it, whether he retires or not. I'll do my deep dive video on Humanoid, where I will go to a bunch of his teammates and coaches, and I will get the story. I'll find out what is the deal with this guy, because the few times in interviews I've asked, I get really weird answers. Even behind the scenes, you get people where it's like, even the ones who like him are sort of a bit puzzled by some of the aspects of his motivation. How, like, for example, they'll do stuff like give him a compliment and say, oh, he's actually really intelligent about the game. Like, if you ever got him in a review and you could get him to talk, he'd give you all these amazing, he understood where the guy was going to be and what we should do. And then they'll sometimes be like, but he didn't communicate that to anyone because he thought they should know already. And it's like, what? What? No, that's not the way it works. Like, normally the guy who's brilliant like that, like a Soaz, a Perks, normally their best quality is you can tell the team what you need them to do, or you can go that up and coming player. I've even told this story before. This is what I was told from Evil Geniuses. Evil Geniuses wasn't just Peter Dunn and Giorgio Pion and Danny. I've heard Inspired would literally take the rookies under his arm and sort of like tell them the right things so that they'd feel confident. But then he'd also still recommend the VOD for you. So then you're like, hey, I also expect you to fucking play it properly though. Like, this is what you could have done. This guy, that's as far as I can tell, one thing he's never done. He's never been the captain. So if you're the highest paid player, I need you to either be my best player or my captain. I want one of the two. But when you get your matter, if you can go away and you have 6 months off, figure it out. Once that contract ends, you can play in the LEC again. Yes, absolutely. By the way, I even think to myself, think of some of the other teams you could be on. You can walk in the Vitality tomorrow, back and pad, if they're still there. If they're still there, of course. But anyway, so your career doesn't have to be over. But I tell you what, you have to give a fuck now. They can't ever phone it in again. You can't ever phone it in again.
I think what every coach is going to tell you is basically you always view Humanoid as the guy who has the knowledge and the capacity to be the solution, but not the motivation to fulfill it. I think in my context, right, there was the challenge of Hilly and Humanoid. Hilly is the type of player that does things his own way, and you give him the space and the time to ramp up, and he's going to repay you in kind. If you challenge that too hard, he's going to move in the other direction completely. Like Hilly is a very, very sensitive player, and Humanoid will give you a couple of chances, but if he feels like the effort doesn't lead anywhere, he's going to protect himself and isolate himself completely away from you. And that response is the challenge that every coach is trying to kind of work their way through with Humanoid. It's like to see the upside of trying really hard to elevate the team to the next step. In my read and my estimation, in regards to how Elioya was when he joined the team, I think Elioya took what Humanoid said and really, really tried to apply it. And he was willing to be the punching bag for
Right.
Humanoid, where his response to Humanoid's isolation behavior was the response of, I'm going to do better and I'm going to bring him back to me. And I think if I read it correctly, it's like between Humanoid and Razork, I don't know how much faith they have in each other after 4 years. It's like we viewed this from outside, the frustration of Fnatic fans or us as well as people that can see the potential of Fnatic. Internally, that frustration must be 10 times more harsh between Razork and Humanoid, because they've been there since so long now. This was like the 4th year running of these guys. So how much faith did they have in one another? And when you are in a working relationship, any relationship, and the dynamic has been set, breaking yourself out of that box is next to impossible, because the expectations on who you are, what you're going to do has already been set. And I think what you touched on is so important, because in regards to the effort you need to put in, whenever anyone talks about work-life balance and competition, they don't understand. It's like the obsession and the work you're going to be putting in is unhealthy. It needs to be. Otherwise, it's like everyone, like every pro athlete, anyone that pushes, they have injuries, they fuck up their back, they have injuries, they have wrist problems. It's in traditional sports the same way, amount of knees or elbows or shoulders. Everyone's destroyed post a career. Like in UFC, they put everything on the risk. Everyone gets concussions, everyone gets their head beaten in, and those that get away with very little injuries, it's like a miracle. You need a very certain level of crazy, and if that passion doesn't come from the right place, whether the motivation is financial, as you mentioned, if the motivation is for you to get the money, and you are from a country that doesn't have a strong, thriving economy like in Germany or France or whatever, and that money is so life-changing to you, that is a big driving force. If you love the game, like a Mickey and Caps, these guys, their biggest advantage always has been that they just love playing the game. Like they just love playing the game, love putting in hours, and hard work becomes easy work. Even though, of course, I wouldn't want to say that it's easy, because of course they work insanely hard. Like that, being capable of being obsessed at that level, you need to have very, very deep motivations. And The best examples that we can always give in terms of how people change after they achieve certain things, it's like, look no further away than like someone like Conor McGregor, because when he was starving, he was a different man completely. And then
well,
that
the kids
moment,
don't even know because it's 10 years ago now, Yamato. Like, they don't remember. This guy was like the hardest worker and mega at fighting and could talk the talk. The joke is he just does the last one now. He just talks, pretends he's having fights. And then every nephew thinks, oh, he fucking sucked. As I always tell people, man, look who he beat. He was fucking mega at his peak. But you're right. As soon as he got essentially like the infinite money left, yeah, he had the money from fighting, then he invested it into businesses, and he has all that like fucking alcohol shit in Ireland, which, by the way, speaking of a license to print money, you're selling alcohol in Ireland. Fucking hell. That's outrageous. Yeah, you're gonna be rich for your whole life. That is an unreal. So the problem is that's like the humanoid contract. At that point in time, are you really going to grind? Are you really getting up at 5 a.m, the equivalent in league? Are you really putting in all the hours? Do you really care to like, improve, or is the current level good enough? And you're just going to ride out the money and be that. This is what people don't understand. Nephews don't have anything yet, so well, if I had such a, you don't know that you're imagining what would happen. I'll give you a quick example. Surely everyone can relate to this. Has anyone here ever procrastinated some homework, some schoolwork, some work in the office, right? Where you should do it today, but you go, I could do it tomorrow. What you do is, eventually, you put it off 2 or 3 days. The last day is coming up. It's the day before you have to do it, right? And you tell yourself the ultimate lie. You go, you know what? I'm going to put it off one more time, but I'm going to go twice as hard tomorrow. Bro, you couldn't go half as hard today. You won't go twice as hard tomorrow. I can tell you what will happen tomorrow. You will wake up, panic that you didn't do it, do a half-assed job, or you'll go, oh, next time will be different. Next time I'll just start from day one again. No. If it was that easy, you would have done it. The point is, everyone in their mind is a hero, mate. Everyone in their mind is at their 10 out of 10 level on their best day. Everything works. They get the perfect sleep. They get the perfect food. That isn't what being great's about. Being great's about being applied effort when none of those things are true. When you're injured, when you didn't get good sleep, when you're in a bad mood, when your girlfriend just broke up with you, you had a dog shit meal, you forgot to eat even that day, you lost your first 3 games, you're having a bad time in your team and people are telling you shit. The people who grind and put their effort in then, those are the people I have mad respect for. Like, it's the reason why, if people don't know, it's not just that he's a brilliant goal scorer. One of the best reasons I'm a massive fan of Ronaldo is he's like 41 and he is infinite grinding every day still, Yamato. He still like eats the perfect macro. It's unbelievable, mate. So people can never take that for granted. Let me see someone do that for 1 year. Never mind 20, mate. Never mind 20.
I can also reference back to what Cap said on the Sackdown in response to the rumors at the time of his jungler and support being replaced. Okay. His response was, I am very disappointed in myself because maybe if I helped them more, they wouldn't have gotten replaced.
Oh, that's sick. I love that.
His reaction is, he's viewing it through the lens that if I was earlier looking at the lane swap game that Team Liquid did, and we put in more effort there, and I pushed them, and we worked together, he sees this through the lens that he could have done that. And if you have such an encompassing responsibility for the whole team and you look at yourself as the potential solution to any problem, then you will be capable of doing so much more. And there's very few players that are like that. You mentioned Inspired. Like, I know Bwipo is like this. I know that Caps is like this. Perks is usually the guy who taught other people to be like this. Mythy had that connection with Sven. It's like that level of greatness. It's so apparent because they see issues in a team and they don't ever say, that's not my problem. They're gonna put in everything to set the standard that they believe in. And in that process of pursuing that, you learn methods that work. You learn how to do it more efficiently, because in the end, it is a skill that you actively practice. But you need to have the arrogance and the ego to believe that you can be the solution, because eventually you will be, if you are a good enough player, of course.
If you do want, though, a soft, comfortable, fun-loving life, you don't need to be as rich as Humanoid, because Into the M has got you covered. I've got actually an Into the M shirt here. That's actually an LFN one.
I didn't get mine yet.
Oh, wait a second. Maybe I don't actually. Never mind. I do have some into the shirts though. By the way, the one reason I don't. Oh, there you go. That's a print one. I don't actually have mine on because the joke is I actually now keep wearing them off air, and I'm too addicted to them. I can't go back to normal t-shirts now, mate. If I go back to that, they don't feel as soft. They're not nice and stretchy in the same way. Oh, they're so good, mate. They feel so lovely. It's actually the nicest feeling t-shirt I've ever felt. And if you don't know, they have their classic offer, so you can save money. You can get 3 graphic tees, like one like Yamato's got there. I've got a whole bunch of other designs. Monty has a few different ones. 3 graphic tees bundle is $61.95 in dollars. Basic tees, I have some really nice, just a white one that's totally white. I have you can get 2 types. I have a soft one. I have a more but heavy duty one that I wear out to raves and stuff. That's quite a nice one in that sense. There, 3 of them, $52.95. And what they are doing right now is they are running a sale. You know, they run sales all the time. Shop at Into the M, and their 4th of July sale is site-wide, available right now. Items up to 60% until July 7th. Check the calendar. You've still got a whole bunch of days. Up to 60%. And the 60% is just their sale on the website. If you then use our link, intotheam.com/LFN, it's on your screen, you will save not just the 60% if it is an item that's up to 60%, you will get an extra 10%. You could get up to 70% off things on their website, and plus 10% stacks with whatever percent is on their sale, or with those bundles too. So actually check out intotheam.com/LFN for 10% off, plus whatever you get off in their 4th of July site-wide sale. Thank you to Into the M. Obviously, always mention us at the checkout if you can, please, and check out what countries they're available in. As far as I know, it's most places in the world. Yeah, great stuff. Right, how about this, Yamato? Should we do some viewer questions?
Let's do them.
Let's do it. We'll have a break. We'll do a little 3-minute break, though. Come on.
All right.
Give people time to heat up the factor meal.
Of course, of course.
Right, we are back for a bit of ye old Summoning Insight viewer questions. Now, if you're wondering, how do I get to ask a question? Easy. You just go to the Last Free Nation Discord. Technically, you have time to do it right now. Sign up, submit a question in the channel. It's called SI-questions. And then I will pick through the ones that are good. And potentially, you will get your question asked. If for some reason you're shy and you don't want your username read out, just say, please don't read out my username, and I'll read it anonymously. Otherwise, I will shout out people's names. So I will just check for a good one here. I'm in the SI. Also, if you do subscribe to them, you can also submit hot takes in League of Legends and CS and ask all sorts of other questions. Here's an interesting one. I think in light of the Poby convo, it's a good one. Hellfire 206. Would Thorin run a Western region like Canna has in LEC, or Core JJ and Impact in the LCS? What do you think?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. I think the main thing that stands out about players that I think run regions like that, especially Canna, is that, like, similar to a Summit to some degree, is that they are known regionally for how strong they are as laners. I think Doran's qualities come in how he is as a teammate. And I think that in terms of how he's connected with the game, about which waves to steal, his tank play, obviously it's easy to focus on his Ambessa and Gwen because that's what he played against How Alive and won. But for the majority of his career, I do think that he has been a more of a force that is stable top and is a very, very strong team player. And I think translating that is very tricky. I think back to some other players that have moved, like let's say a Crown. Crown 2017, 2016, I think he was absolutely insane. But 2017, he was a role player for Samsung. And then, of course, he went on to play in North America. And that performance didn't translate at all because his gameplay needs the context of everybody else. And I think for the longest time, Doran has been very, very good at neutralizing people, while the people like a Kana, or let's say a Huni, when he was dominant, because I'm looking at top lane specifically, is that these guys are just so strong laners, and they create leads through that force. Because Kana, that's if you want to categorize Kana, it's like, oh, he's an insane laner, mechanically plays super insane in fights. Does he play tanks? Not really. He doesn't want to, because it requires you to connect with your teammates and your team. And I think Core JJ is such an outlier because I think an Impact 2, because they've stuck around for a very, very long time. They had the right motivations to do so, to get the green card, and they actually came to the region with the intention of reshaping the region. But also in the beginning, when Impact came, like Impact was the guy who was very strong laner, mechanically super talented, and then came over to North America for a big paycheck. But over time, they turned into very, very strong role players and strong leaders. But that's years and years of playing in North America.
I think he wouldn't be as good as Canna, but I think he would be a very good player. He would definitely be an upper half player, in my opinion, the LCS or LTA or LEC. Like, first of all, this is how I know, like I said earlier, you just judge the best day of the Western player and the worst day of the Asian player. Canna is a fucking many time champion in the LCK. You can't trip over and do that. Even if you're carried, and he wasn't always, by the way, some of those finals he just beat Zeus. That's real. And people say Zeus is the GOAT top laner, by the way. Also, if you think about how LEC uses top lane, this guy could absolutely, first of all, have some carry games, but he could play a tank like a motherfucker in the LEC. Like, mate, I'll tell you what, if you want to flame someone like irrelevant, I'll take Thorin in that spot any day of the week. Let's load it up. Let's have that fucking game. Thorin, Nuke, and Ice, they'll fucking cook, mate. They'll be doing the business. That'd be really good. I also think as well, this guy looks to me like he only ever loses his confidence against the best players in the world. You're not facing them in LCA, LEC, or LT. Remember, you're facing like Bwipo, Broken Blade. Like, this is doable. This is more than doable if you're Doran. So I do think he would be really good. But it's weird. The question's good in the sense that I'd love to take any player people flame. You know what? Let's take the ones they flame from fucking LPL. Let's take Cream and pop him on BDS or something like that, you know. Let's take Jackie Love, who you all think suck. Have him come over and play for fucking SK or something. Mate, these guys could be the MVP of the league. They'd be fucking unbelievable players. So yeah, I think it's a good question. I like it. Good work. Then I'm going to go with, actually, someone just submitted one right now. Fade says, Fnatic's decision to bring in Poby has sparked plenty of questions and even more criticism. Has there ever been a roster change met with this much negativity that actually turned out to be a success? You can pick esports or sports, he says. But is there a esports one you can think of where it's super flipped, but it actually worked out?
I would need to have a think. Is there anything that stands out for you, Thorin?
I'm trying to think who should have been shit, but actually ended up not being that shit. Like, who was a big name player who's a fucking meme? So I'm trying to think of high profile moves here. High profile moves. Well, you know what? Yeah, that hasn't worked out that much yet. You know what? To be fair, Doran himself's done better than we expected. He's actually had a pretty good split.
Yeah.
Not that much to complain about. It wasn't his fault. The joke is, oftentimes it was the ADC issue or Faker playing like shit. I actually think Carrier and Owner have had fucking amazing splits. I think Dawn was fairly good. It's actually better than I expected. He held up a lot better than I thought in the playoffs, for example. I thought Zeus would just smash this guy's head in. So that's actually already, maybe it's, the joke is maybe Doran himself's going to do that. I'm trying to think of a nuts one though. There's got to be somewhere it was like, well, I'll give you an example. Actually, when they signed Rain over to Fnatic and everyone was like, it's game over, that shit player from the fucking... Bro, he was like the best jungler, and the reason, and when he went to NA, he was so good in Immortals, they gave him $1 million contract to Team Liquid, and then still kept going. He still tried him on CLG, then he's been a coach forever. There's an example of a move where this guy was supposed to be a failed Korean who came over and ran a Western region. That happened. That's real. No joke.
I'm trying to remember what the conversation, because it's like back then we didn't get too much of the inside scoop of what the conversation was, but. Like thinking back of players that were not considered good and then became insane, like Smeb is also somebody that I remember in the beginning was like not rated at all, and then like on this Rocks Tigers and the Kut Tigers, he just had such a resurgence, became one of the best guys to ever do it. So, but I don't remember like if that signing was ever criticized or anything like this. I don't have that recollection or never really had that knowledge. So.
I'm trying to think who else people thought was a bomb, but was actually really good. It's hard, to be fair. It's hard. Whatever. Next question. Next question will be... Okay, let's see what you say. Tallahassee Riot Supervisor, what was the best prank that either you played on someone or was done to you?
Oh, I have I have a story that happened between two friends of mine. So I have a friend of mine. His name is Artsif, Armenian guy. I went to school with him, and he had a level of commitment that to this day impressed me so damn much. So we're in school, right? And we are doing like chemistry lab. We have to do like lab work, and the teacher just puts us in pairs, and we have to work. And then our friend named Daniel just comes like he works with somebody in class, like a girl that goes to the same class as us. And then eventually he comes to us, like after the work, he says, "This girl behaved so fucking weird. Like I don't know what the fuck. I don't know. Like she was so weird. Like she seemed so uneasy, as if she's scared of me. I don't know what the hell is happening." And then my friend Artsif, he just starts bursting out laughing, and like we have no idea why. He just starts fucking laughing. And then he told us for 6 months straight, just because he was bored, he's been telling this girl that our third friend is in love with her. For no reason at all. For no reason at all. Just to fuck with him. It was a 6-month commitment. We don't know if it's going to have a payoff. We had no idea at all. And he just stuck to the bit just for that moment. And I will forever appreciate that level of commitment to a bit that you don't know is going to have a payoff.
In general, I'm not a fan of pranks. Like, I hate physical pranks where you do shit like dangerous stuff or you pretend to like rob someone when you're. I think that is so unacceptable. Like, I would literally never accept a friend who did that. I'd punch him in the face. Literally, I'm that guy who'd go mental. So, my idea of a prank is weird. Lighter than that. So I'll give you an example. When I actually worked on E-League, which was a Counter-Strike television show on TBS in America, basically it was me, Richard Lewis, and Moses, if you know those people from CS. And Moses is known to be sort of like the most amiable person in esports. Everyone likes Moses. He's really easy to get along with. He's got a great laugh. He's just a fun guy, but he's also like good at his job, and he's just quite, and so what there's one thing though, which is during this season, at the time, if you don't know, in the early days of the events of CSGO, when we used to work at events every 3 weeks, there wasn't amazing green rooms and catered foods. It would just be like school dinner level food. And so unfortunately, people would just eat whatever was available. And it meant that it was very famous that when the day ended and you're coming down off that high of being on the shore and you're still hungry, everyone just went and had a pizza, burgers, kebabs, everything bad for you. And no one was going to gyms. We weren't even in hotels that had nice gyms then, sometimes there might not be anything. So everyone was in bad shape. So this was one of those years where he'd gained a bit of weight, and because he's on TV, he wants to lose something. He wants to look fucking good. By the way, now he looks awesome. He's in great shape. He works out, etc. But one of the things he was doing, I won't say the name because they're not a sponsor of this show, but there's a famous type of a drink that's a sort of meal replacement. It was just coming back about 9 years ago, Yamato. You might know the name of it. And basically, he was doing that where instead of one of your meals at your lunch, you drink this drink. So it's in the fridge, our little mini fridge in the area. He's going to put it in there so that later, halfway through the day, he can drink it. And we all have, as we're all just like, because it's usual, this is how we are, we'll all just be eating like, that was at E-League. That had sick catering, bro. At E-League, we'd be eating like, fucking southern fried chicken. Like, double posh. Oh, Moses, are you enjoying that drink there? You still look fat, So anyway, one of the ways me and Richard Lewis fucked with him is we would just joke with him. We didn't even say we're joking, but the way we would do it was like, with sort of an evil laugh. We'd go, when you weren't in the room, we put sugar in that, And the problem is, we never did, We're not dickheads like that. But it got in his head. And it would make him start thinking like, am I just wasting my time drinking this drink and I'm not even having the nice food and it's not even working? And also now if I'm not losing weight, maybe these dickheads would put sugar in there. Like, I don't know. I only know them from the events. Maybe they would do that. I don't know. Is that British humor? I don't know. And it was making him paranoid, mate. And it was like, the joke is we didn't follow through on the prank, but that alone, so we psychologically tortured him basically. So best of mates now though. Good friend of mine. Was invited to his wedding and everything. This is a good question. The Morgster, listen, there's going to be 4 options. Which of these LEC roster moves has had the biggest negative impact on the organization? So your 4 choices. You can have Rogue removing Odoamne. You can have Fnatic losing Caps. You can have G2 sidelining Carlos. Or you can have Origin just cutting all the players' salaries. Not a bad little 4 picks, is it? So which of those do you think was the biggest impact on the org, crucially?
Ooh, it has to be, I think, either one or two, right? It's like the caps, losing caps from Fnatic to G2 just created a dynasty, because 2018 G2 was struggling. It's like everybody remembers like the RNG series that they won and they made semis, but that was a very, very hard year. Like they barely qualified to the World Championship. Maybe if it wasn't for Schalke being sick because they went too hard on an after party after the finals against Fnatic, maybe they don't even qualify to the World Championship, and the story ends short. Like that completely revived everything for G2. But on the other side, Fnatic still in 2019 2020 with Nemesis, even though that team Fnatic roster was going through so much turmoil, they were like pushing G2 at certain points in time. They were pushing G2. But on the flip side with Rogue, they went from an organization that won a split, arguably one of the weakest splits ever, because I look back at that as a massive stain on my career to not win that split with Humanoid and Wunder and so forth. But going from that to then being the first domino of just a sequence of decisions that was some of the worst ones, because I was surprised that the Trimby Advian trade didn't show up here as an option too. In the context of where Fnatic landed in the aftermath, probably I have to lean towards the Odoamne one, because that was the beginning of the end for a whole ass organization. Maybe you can say it's the same for Fnatic, because now they're signing Poby, but at least the death is far slower for Fnatic.
Well, I do think the Odoamne one's mad underrated, because, bro, he just had a dope Worlds as well. Can I just see that roster play one more split? If they fail, great, okay, I can live with it. But, like, I actually thought that also, here's the other thing about that roster. It had some magic to it, mate. They'd found a way to enable Larson to be really, really good with that crazy Malrang style. Odoamne was the perfect player for fucking Comp. Comp has never looked as good before or since. You had fucking Trimby. His career went off the rails after that. This guy looked like he was going to be the next name in the list of those of the Hillersang. Now it's Alvaro, but it was going to be fucking Trimby. That was queued up, mate. So yeah, I think that one's a brutal one. But the Caps one, look, the reason that's the even worse one is, I mean, if you listen to my video, it's implied part of the reason he might have left was he didn't want to be in that specific lineup anymore. If that's true, you absolutely fumbled so hard. Not just because he gave your main rival that player, but you literally did it where it's like, it's the other way around. That's the player you make the team around. That's the you go, listen, I don't care who it has to be. You tell me you have to cut, we'll make it work. You just sign again here. You need to be Fnatic Caps forever. That's my number one goal if I'm running Fnatic at that time. And then also, the reason it's so epically bad is because in any other year, you would have been able to get Perks as the replacement player. But the joke is, G2 kept Caps and Perks. That's why I still think that is one of the biggest daylight robberies of all time, that they pulled that off, mate. And then it worked, and you won MSI and almost won Worlds. Like, oh, it's so gross. Because before that, remember, like, they'd only just caught up to you in terms of titles. Now Fnatic is a meme. You used to be the greatest League of Legends org ever. Now you're Manchester United. Congrats. No one gives a fuck about shit 10 years ago.
I think what you added, like in a world where if it wasn't Perks that orchestrated this move, if Perks went to Fnatic at the same time,
that would be interesting. Yeah,
I think it would have changed everything, because G2 wouldn't have that AD, and Perks would actually like at the time, like Reckless and Hilly were insane. You had Whip on Soaz top lane. Broxa, I think, was one-dimensional, but he was good on his few picks, even though I don't rate Broxa that high in consideration to what Fnatic achieved in that year 2018. But that could have also like changed the trajectory of everything. But the most gangster part is that both of them were there. That's just so insane to think about. They need to make a movie about this shit.
Lane 8 says, excluding the DRX Miracle Run, do you have a favorite or a most hated Miracle Run? Is the one that always stands out to you?
It's like being so close to Gilligan, right? It's just the whole story of how Schalke did it with the 0.1% chance to qualify, like going on what was like a 9-game win streak or something ridiculous, like an 8-game win streak from being a lossless. Like considering the odds and them managing to put it together, if I remember correctly, maybe you can help me out, Thorin. Wasn't this like the year where they also played with like Forgiven and they benched him like mid season?
The split before, yeah. And then they had Inax, and then they got Neon.
It was such a messy place, and I think it's like for Gilius, it probably is the biggest believer of the law of attraction. I think there was no other person that would be psychologically, like delusional enough to believe that it was possible, and he made everyone rally around something. It's like Odoamne was there too, right? And like Dylan Falco and the gang, and they managed to pull that through. I think still looking back to that was some of the most insane shit ever. In regards to some other moments, it's I'm thinking,
the elephant in the room. You did it. You were on the Fnatic team with Whipple Roll Swap, won all those BO5s and all the fucking mentality. Got to the finals. Here's the reason why I don't think you said that. Because part of you will always be burned that you'll never know what would happen at Worlds. Because I'm telling you right now, the way that team was cooking in playoffs, that roster, there's a world that could have been top 8. Like, you even had the group for it, bro. That could have been a really special miracle run, right?
No, definitely. For sure. Like I can also say we scrimmed, and I still have those scrims on like my YouTube channel as unlisted. Maybe one day I'll show them. Okay. But what Hilly Bwipo, and Upset were doing against like Gumayushi Keria, Owner, what they were doing against like some of the best bot lanes. It's like we scrimmed 8 games against Damwon, and we went 7-1 because I've never practiced so well against Korean teams as we did during that period. Like, if there's one game I remember, Bwipo was playing Viego against LNG, the one with Tarzan and Ale. And I believe Icon mid lane. Yep. There was one game we were so far behind, and he just completely ran the game with Viego, like went 13-0 and just dropped. Like I have those games, and maybe I'm gonna unleash them one day. But it's it was.
You know why Bwipo is delusional as fuck, because he did it. He had his worlds. It was just secretly in scrims only. But in scrims, he was a god apparently.
No, bro, I say it to this day. I think in that split, I think Bwipo was the best jungler in Europe, because. It was he really overestimated what was necessary to be a good jungler. So he just worked so fucking hard and went beyond what everyone else did, because he came at it from a position of like just not knowing what people actually do. He went so far. There's this famous jungler who all he does is post like optimized clears. He basically paid this man to create a spreadsheet of the exact timers of the fastest possible clear on every jungle-specific camp. So whenever Bwipo loaded into a matchup, he just knew, I can invade chickens here, he will be 2 seconds late, and I will be able to punish. And he did this like clockwork. He just like really studied so damn hard, while a lot of the other junglers are just like in solo queue, not spamming the champions they find easy. But he went into solo queue and played 100 games of Trundle when everyone else like, oh, Trundle is easy, don't need to practice it. So he really had an edge because of the approach,
I've got a fun one. I like this question. This is a banger. Right. iMac says, if you were to create a think tank roster, as in we all sat around and thought up, what would the best one? The aim of the roster, Yamato, is to tilt Dom into oblivion for a whole split. Which 5 players are we putting together? So it has to be people that Dom just would not be able to handle watching. It would just make his blood fucking boil. Who are we picking?
Oh shit. I think he definitely hates Malrang. Like
Malrang for jungle, there's a banger, especially when Malrang was winning.
You can choose.
By the way, I feel like surely top lane's the Shy, because when the Shy hits, nobody hits it more than Dom. Bro, that's like he's getting electrocuted in Guantanamo Bay when the Shy hints. There we go. By the way, already as well, the Shy Malrang, we're off to him. What mid laner would get to Dom? What mid laner would just fucking make him lose his shit? Who would it be?
Oh man, I'm trying to think. What? I don't know. I'm trying to think. Like the angle that I wanted to think about, it's like it's a little bit too good, but at the same time, I think it hurts his heart because of the OMG days of the potential of Cream.
Right.
And
that was his boy once upon a time. Yeah, that was
like that's his boy. You know, that's his boy.
Yeah.
It's like maybe the mid laner needs to be someone that he loves, but should just suffer. We just put Doimby.
No, because Doimby's too good. Here's the obvious answer. I'll by saying his name this way, you'll know who I mean. We're not going to put Chovy. We're going to put Chalky.
Okay.
Dom is someone ever since like 2023 onwards has said Chovy's the best player in the world. And then he watches all the LPL, everything. World comes around. And then anytime Chovy ever had a bad game, every fan's like, this is why you don't know about the game and why you didn't win the LCS. Like, they just go in his arsehole. I think if I'm with you, remember, it doesn't have to always be a bad player. That would just hurt him a lot. I think it would just hurt his soul if Chalky, every time you think it's Chovy, it's just, oh yeah, there you go. It's Chalky, but in disguise as Chovy. There you go. So it makes him believe, like, oh, this is going to fucking cook. What are you talking about? And then every time just betrays him completely. There you go. Right, bot lane, where are we going?
Honestly, I think the jungle role is that's where he has the most hate. So we need to keep Malrang there, but we put him support.
Okay.
Because the jungler could either be Aki or we just bring back Umti. And
Umti's a good one.
Umti, the shy.
Oh, Pureshik too. That's another good one.
Pureshik, that's a great one.
Definitely not. Pureshik's a world champion. He's definitely not a Pureshik fan.
Oh, we can also have Beryl. Like Beryl is definitely the source of my pain, but I know that he also like whenever someone like I think like we lose. A gray hair just pops out in either my head or Dom's head when someone says, "I don't think Beryl is one of the GOAT supports." You know, he made 3 finals. You know, he won worlds on different teams. You know, isn't he just the best? I was, oh man, I think Beryl would hurt his soul. Which one for AD? We need to complete this roster.
AD's going to be harder, isn't it? I think what ADs does he actually really hate though? Well, the obvious angle to tilt is Piglet. We'll just have Team Liquid Piglet.
Yeah.
There you go. And by the way, let me just run this down for you boys, just so you know how bad this team is, right? So we've got the Shy, Pureshik, Chalky, Piglet, and Beryl. And the best part is, a bunch of them are world champions. And we've created the most tilt-worthy team of all time. And Dom would actually be on fucking... Forget, he wouldn't be on Cloud9. He'd be on fucking Mars, mate. He'd be out of this world. He wouldn't even be able to handle it. His blood pressure would be insane. He'd be like one of those aging face apps or something, mate, by the end. He'd be like he was president of the US. He'd age 10 years. Right, one last question, I reckon. One last one for the road. Let me have a look what's a good one here. Okay, Big Boy says, was 2024 G2, so last year's G2 roster with Yike and Mickey, was that actually one of the best EU teams that no one will remember because of the Swiss draw? Not a bad question, eh?
I think it depends on how far back we go, but let's, for the simplification, let's remove season 1, 2, 3 for simplification. Okay. So we don't need to mention the Post 5s and the COGs. That's good. I think it's like 2015 Fnatic, I think deserves a shout. I think that was a very, very good team. I think 2018 Fnatic was also a very good team. Then there's 2019, 2020. And then I think like those are the G2 rosters. Yeah. Beyond that, the in-between.
It can get up there. Yeah, maybe they can be like 5th or 6th, right?
Like, I think they're comparable to like a Mad Lions of 2021. Because it's like in the end, Mad Lions made, of course, quarters. And then they also took down 1 to 5 games, which I think if I contextualize what the format was, I think there is similarities. But I do think that G2 last year was definitely like one of the top ones. I think they could sneak into top 5 if I look back at that recent history. Because in the end, in the previous format, in terms of a team that they would, like in a group they would land in, being the number 1 seed, I do think that they would do well. And if it was like an MSI old format, they would also like have a very competitive series in semis against the LPL or the LCK favorite and almost made finals. And I think that would be like formidable. Because in the end as well, I think it's hard to rate winning everything regionally because of how shit EU was. But at the same time, they still did, and it should mean something, right? So I do think that the 2024 roster was solid. It's a good one. Top 5, I think they can reach.
Yeah, I think it's probably actually just like, because, as he says, cause of the world's run, it's probably underrated. I mean, look, they did 3-0 TES at MSI. It's from FlyQuest ship, but they were absolutely in those games against T1, the line that won Worlds. They were fucking doing the business at MSI. There really is a world where, just like FURIA and Gamma saying now in a bar somewhere, we could have got him. Like, yeah, you could have. Made Caps was better than Faker. That was real. So, if anything, the real problem with that team is it'll always be a what if team, won't it? It'll always be like they could have made the run and been like third or fourth best team of all time for sure. Maybe they could have even gone to second. Who knows? If they'd have made that run to MSI final or something.
Better to be a what if team than a what the fuck are we doing here team. That's what they are right now. So
yes. Right, that's going to be it. Wasn't as long a show, still a pretty good one. We'll see you probably, I think, around next week. I'll check the time and the day and stuff, but we'll do another one after part of the bracket stage, and we'll have loads of matches to go into and lots of people to praise and to flame. See you then.